everyone, how we doing tonight? It's close to Merry Christmas time, huh? How we doing, gang? Let me switch the correct overlay. Here we are. Yo! Hello, everyone. Ooh. That way? Yeah, right now I'm in the middle. Yo, Groot. How did Jakub do in Skirmish? Skirmish is Saturday, so we are Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we are Wednesday. I stream every Wednesday. So we are Wednesday. So it's in about 3 days. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then we'll know. And then maybe we'll review this this Polish gentleman, this funny guy. This is what we have to say. This funny guy, always taking the fun bet, huh? He just made a report after Nexus Night because he had the Nexus Night on Monday, and he reported that he lost a game because he did something for fun, like he gambled. What was it? Yeah, he gambled that a victor would not have stratagem. It was like, if I stay in base, I win every day, but it's not fun, so I gamble they don't have stratagem, but they have it. And then he said something like, probably a top deck or something, but like whatever. Against Victor, you have to play around stratagem, right? It is what it is. But I told him at least we knew praying was not an option, and he said, don't worry, I'm locked in for skirmish, I'm not going to play for fun. So we are throwing prayers that Jakub takes this seriously, otherwise we'll just have a good laugh and have fun. It is what it is. How are you guys doing on this very special day, actually? 24th of December. Tomorrow is Christmas. Maybe for some of you, tonight is Christmas. Probably depending on where you are in like traditions and stuff. I don't know. In France, some families celebrate the 24th, but most families, I believe, only celebrate like the 25th, like Christmas with like the gifts and stuff. I don't exactly know how you guys do in other countries, but I guess it's the same for, like, at least pretty much everyone celebrates 25th, I guess, Christmas time. Pretty cool day. A bunch of NBA games, seeing family, gifts. I like that. But tonight is a different day, and tonight we are going to be talking about set 2 deck building, just as we did last week. For those of you who were here already, for those of you who were not, I should probably have opened a YouTube window. Give me a second. Here we are. If you weren't here last week and you want to know more about like set 2 and the deck you want to play, we have some early guides that are doing rather well on the channel regarding the 4 legends that I did talk about last week. So we talked about Irelia, we talked about Ornn, we talked about Ezreal, and we talked about Rek'Sai, and also we had the chance to have a talk with Tog, which is a pro player, full-time player for Flesh and Blood that is now switching to Riftbound, still as a pro player. And he gave us insights on how his testing group perceived the format, what cards were strong, were not, what to fear. Basically just like overall insights on set 2 formats. Give me a second. Kittycat wants to go in and out, but like it's super giga code, so I can't leave it open. Like I'm just going to die if I do. So if you want to know more about like some of them legends, I suggest you check the YouTube channel with the edited videos. Of course, the VOD is still here and still free on Twitch. But if you want a more like condensed 25 to 30 minutes review, here you go. You have everything there. It's completely free. And then tonight we are doing 4 more legends, because there are 12 legends in Spirit Forged, and the plan is to go 4 legends a week up until we reach 12 legends. So next week we should be done, and we have a guide on all 12 of them. The bad news for me, at the very least, because for you guys I guess it's not like it does not matter, but for me is that we've reached the end of legends I actually wanted to build. Like Rumble, Draven, Fiora were the remaining legends that I wanted to build. Rek'Sai I was excited about, Irelia I was excited about, Ornn I was super excited about, Ezreal same, I was super excited, Fiora I was excited, Draven I was excited, Rumble I was between skeptical and curious. As in like, not sure it's good, but everyone's telling me it's good, so maybe I want to try and build it. So at least curious. And then Lucian, I was like, I really don't want to build that, but I have to. And then the 4 remaining ones which are Jax, Sivir, Azir, and the last one I can't remember, of course, is which one is it though? Renata, yeah, Renata, huh? Renata seems exciting, huh? Renata, I don't want to build. Azir, I kind of want to, but it feels like I would need to spend a lot of time building and testing because it's not a legend that feels obvious to figure out. So probably it's going to be my focus for the next week or so. And then the other ones, I'm just going to give you guys a like intro guide. Because like, once again, don't get me wrong, these are, for some of these, quite some testing, for some of these, a bit of testing and or playing against. But like these are early guides, like beginner guides, introductory guides, as in like, it's not completely beginner friendly, like we don't read the cards, right? But still, it's not about like, yeah, this is the list you have to play 100%. Like, we are very early in the format. There are a lot of stuff, like, there's a lot of stuff that's subject to change. We don't even know what we're matching against. Like, it's very hard to take for specific matchups because we don't know what decks are we going to see play or not. Some decks feel super good, and then people are going to find counter and they will feel like super unplayable. So the overall idea of this all is like, give you a proper idea of what the deck does, of like a good starting list if you want to print the deck to try it before Spirit Forge releases. And then like you guys can make your changes and stuff, and we get to discuss about like potential cards, my opinion on this, why they fit or don't fit in the deck, and so on and so on. So that's about it for today's stream. We are going to talk about all 4 of these decks: Fiora, Draven, Lucian, and Rumble. And then, as per usual, you guys get to ask your questions. And then we have a split in between 2 options. First option is, there's been the Runes and Rift tournament for Spirit Forged. These guys are uploading the rounds right now. And I believe there's a round 1, 2, and 3. All are between new decks. So we could go spec these games and like try to have more of an analysis of like, okay, this deck in this game struggles to do this. Is it because of the build? Is it something we could fix? Or is it because like the deck is just overall having a hard time in X situation? This is something that we could do. Or the other option is that we jump on TCG Arena. I figured you guys would probably prefer that, but I'm still giving you the option regardless, and you guys pick whatever you want. The other option is we jump onto like on TCG Arena, and I play the lists that I just presented. And like we try to have a bit of gameplay to complement the theory reports. Probably we're going to do that. If you guys prefer watching games and analyzing them, we're doing that. Whatever, the idea is that we get to talk about these decks as much as we can. And so to start today off, if you have any like preference in between one of those, let me know and we'll just do whatever you guys prefer. To start today, I want to talk about Fiora. So let me just update the stream title so these guys can know we are talking about Fiora. Undefeated. Yep. Fiora list plus theory. Undefeated locals Fiora list plus theory. Let's start with Fiora, because not only is it the one that I was the like from this week's batch of lists, this was the one I was the most hyped about trying. But it's also the one that I think has the more potential, or at least has the more potential when people don't know about it. Because I feel like Draven has a lot of potential for sure, but people are very aware that Draven has potential and that Draven is good. Whereas Fiora, I've not seen so many people talk about Fiora, but testing it, it actually felt like super giga good. So let's talk about Fiora first. I should probably pull up the PNG so that we, yeah, it's right here, I'm dumb. I did participate in locals. If you guys don't know, I can show you the picture, but if you guys don't know, I've made a tweet about it. Once again, you could just go like follow my Twitter if you wish. That's where I share most of the instant Riftbound stuff. Like we've had a new guide on the Riftbound library. This week I shared it on my Twitter. Guide videos I shared on Twitter. Gameplay videos I shared on Twitter. And also, I banter Tog most of the time. And I shared the list. So this was the list that I played at my very first set to locals, actually, because I'm lucky enough I think some people could be like, yeah, but still we bought the course for set 1, so we want to play set 1. I'm lucky enough to have people at my locals that were like, we're all preparing for Bologna or for set 2 releasing. So we're perfectly fine with like jumping into a set 2 format already with printed proxies. Which is like super valuable to me as a content creator, because then I can test lists, I can have actual gameplay footage. I can also like printing this deck was about like €4. So it's not like it's a big investment, right? This is just like a bunch of like PDFs that you go and print through Pictover Archive. You just go export, then print proxies PDF, then you make your settings and you get the PDF. Then I went to like the local printing factory, whatever, and then like I print it, I just cut it, and we have a deck. So it's like super good. Very thankful to these guys for being willing to switch to set 2 format already. This was the list that I played. I've made one change to this list, and also we can talk about sideboard, because since we added tourney, I did try to build some sort of sideboard, which is very generic. Because like, once again, I did not really know what to expect. The format is far from resolved, of course. But there are a few things that I want to talk about regarding sideboard. So we are going to have a bit more of a sideboard discussion this week compared to last week, at least regarding potential options. So this is the updated version of the list. I'm going to talk about updates, and I'm also going to talk about like the card overall and like the ways that I wanted to build that deck and stuff. So let's start. I should actually pull up the card gallery. Let's start with the usual thingy, which is the legend and the champion that I picked. And then you guys can kind of already have some sort of like philosophy idea for the deck. The first thing is the legend. So Fiora Grand Duelist is actually the starter deck legend for Spirit Forge. It's an orange and yellow legend that reads, when one of your units becomes mighty, you may exhaust me to channel 1 rune exhausted. That effect felt like super low to the ground when we had the reveals. It felt like it was not going to be enough, does not bring a lot to your deck. But what's super good with this Fiora is that we got so many cards that actually cost a power, but interact with the fact that you become mighty. I'm thinking Punch First, Orange Set. Like there are a lot of cards that you need to pay like one or several powers to have them become mighty. And then when they are mighty, they get super good. And so this is more like sort of a bonus. As in like, I'm playing good cards anyway. And through this effect, I can make sure I don't deramp too much. It's not about like actual ramping. Sometimes it can be, but like it's not about actual ramping. It's more about like not paying too much. So being too far behind in runes. And like in actual games, it felt super good compared to set. It really felt like I had a lot of cards in the end. This is not because of the legend though. And I had a lot of runes. Like I was using 2 power cards like 1 turn out of 2 or like every other turn or like maybe even every turn. And I was still ramping towards the bigger rune counts like 10, 11, 12 runes. This felt super good. So I really loved playing the legend compared to what I was expecting. And then as a champion, we have 3 options. One of them is the yellow Fiora that we know, which is the 4/4. We play 3 of these, but in the main. The other one is the orange Fiora. I decided not to play that one. We can talk about that one later on. And the one that I decided to play was Fiora Worthy, which is the new yellow Fiora from Spirit Forge. And this one is a 3 energy, 3 might unit that reads, when a unit you control becomes mighty, you may pay a yellow power to ready it. And it felt super good. Like, it actually felt super good. It gave me a lot of options, as in, like, going second. On 3, I drop Discord. Then on 5, I drop, like, Orange Set. Then it becomes mighty because it buffs itself, so I can spend a rune. But since it became mighty, I can already re-ram that rune, so, like, this effect is free. And then I can spend the buff, push with set instantly. Like, there are a lot of cool interactions that you can pull with these cards. That I really loved. We are going to talk about, of course. But this combo felt super good. Basically, it's what I was explaining. It's like, you pay power. This effect is not about ramping. It's about not paying too much. So here, I make a unit mighty. I pay a rune to ready it. And then I ramp a rune because it became mighty. So if you sum it up, it's as if I paid 0 runes to accelerate a unit, which obviously is like super good value, right? Yeah, usually accelerate is an energy and a power, so like paying 0 is like super high value. This is the main axis, if I may say so. Like this is the main axis of the deck, and then as you got it, the big keyword, the big thing to understand is mighty. A unit becomes mighty when it goes above, or like it gets to 5 might or above from being 4 might or less. That's when it becomes mighty, because a mighty unit is 5 might or above. So the first thing is that I really did not want any of my units in the deck to be mighty already. And that's probably going to answer some questions regarding like, why are you not playing Windrunner? Why are you not playing Yoni? Like, there's a lot of cards that you could play that have like great effects, great abilities in orange especially. But I really wanted units that were at best 4 might, so that way I can buff them every turn to make sure I have the ability to proc that Fiora every turn. Because let's say if my curve is playing yellow Fiora, and then next turn playing Green Runner, and they take care of yellow Fiora somehow, spells, combat, whatever, and then I have to drop Green Runner, and then next turn I want to push with Green Runner, because like if I play it, it's to push with it, so I have to use a spell on it, but then I'm not using energy to play another small unit. So I really wanted to have like that idea of like, okay, all of my units are going to be at most 4 might, and that's going to allow me to trigger the Fiora Legend ability a lot. So if we look at units, there was a single change, I believe, in the early game lineup. I was on 3 monkeys, 3 unsung, and 2 rookies. I should probably go to pink though. You guys probably will see it better. Yeah, pink is better, of course. I was on 3 unsung and 2 rookies. The thing is, unsung, if you guys don't know what unsung does, unsung is like, if I die while being mighty, you can draw 2 cards. So if this card becomes 5 might and then dies, you draw 2 cards. This on paper seems super good, because like the whole purpose of the deck is making the cards mighty. So like it's not giga hard to make that card mighty. And then when it's mighty, if your opponent wants to trade it, you get a lot of cards. What happened though was that most of the time, unsung kinda did not resolve, because my opponent was down to give me a point, to give me a trade, or whatever, to not proc unsung, which makes a lot of sense, right? You don't want to give me 2 draws, of course. So it kinda turned into like quote unquote invisible pressure, as in like if I buff this, it's most likely winning the combat. But it also never came to the point in which like I was triggering it several times a game. So I figured I might as well like keep that card in there, because it's not like bad, but it's not as good as the other 2, and like these ones we need to talk about. So Sea Monkey is also a new card from Spirit Forge, and Sea Monkey is like a 2/2, so 2 energy, 2 might unit, that you can pay an extra energy to have it enter the field buff. That's giga good. That's giga super good. Either it's a 2/2, so it's on curve, or it's a 3/3 with a buff. That allows you to not only have it with extra might, but also have the buff resource. And you will see like in that list that I'm not so much playing around buffs. I'm only playing like good cards that tend to buff themselves, but it's more like about the might than about the actual buff. This though also gives me options to pay cards for a cheaper amount of energy, especially Call to Glory. I was considering playing Wall Up at some point, which is like you may spend the buff to restand one of your creatures, of your units, but I decided not to. I preferred First Mate to it, and also we have the Yellow Fiora that kinda is a pseudo Wall Up. So Sea Monkey, very often in the games. If you guys have not seen the videos, I could link it to you. But like if you go to the gameplay channel on YouTube, you will see there are I believe it's 3 rounds now of me playing this Fiora at locals, and the finals is releasing tomorrow, I believe. And most of the time when I want to play a Call to Glory, instead of paying the call like 3 energy, which is the normal rate for the cards, if I have a Sea Monkey, I just drop Sea Monkey for 3, and then I pay call with the buff. which makes it so that for 3, I have a 2 might unit on the board and a call instead of just a call. So like this was super good. And also something that's pretty important and that will also come up with the Pit Rookie is that the discord being 3 might when it enters the battlefield, like most of the board, sorry, most of the time, makes it combo with back-to-back, as in like end with riposte on 2 energy spell, which there are a lot of. Discipline, Falling Star, like there are actually a lot of spells that you want to riposte that are 2 energy. And so that made it say if this card gives +2 or if this card gives +2, this becomes 5 and then this becomes mighty and I'm able to ramp with duelist. Because I really want to, like, ramping with back-to-back is some sort of bonus, but if you play riposte, you really want to be able to mitigate that riposte cost, because like riposte is pretty expensive, paying 2 power. So you really want to be able to only pay 1, which means you need to have a unit to buff to make it mighty to ramp with Fiora. So this was the idea behind Sea Monkey. Pit Rookie is pseudo the same, but it does not buff itself. It buffs other units. So it's either you buff a monkey that does not have a buff to make it 3 might and have the buff for Cole, or you buff Unsung, which is basically the same play pattern. Or, and this is why I bumped Pit Rookie to 3, previously it was like 3 Unsung and 2 rookies, but I bumped Pit Rookie to 3. Or you bump Fiora. And actually Fiora is kind of the only unit that you want to have permanently mighty, because this makes her have deflect, ganking, and shield, and like ganking is crazy. Ganking in this deck is crazy because you have the Fiora here that allows you to restand. So you can have like this Fiora developed in base on 4 runes. It happens. It happened in games. If you watch the gameplay channel, you will see that this display happens. You have this Fiora in base, you let it detap. They can't kill it because Falling Star is only 3 damage. And then like you push this Fiora to a BF, whatever BF it is. Then you make it mighty. I believe in this scenario it was because of back-to-back, but you can do the same with Pit Rookie. You make it mighty. You have this Fiora in base, so you pay power to restand it. Then you use the ganking to conquer the other battlefield. And then either you have something like a first mate, which I did in that game to bring this back to base and do the exact same next turn, or you have a deflect shield unit in that BF that you scored 2 points with, you most likely traded something, and you got a hold of a battlefield that's going to be very hard to contest for your opponent. So I really did like the interaction in between like Pit Rookie and that Fiora, and also the fact that you can use Cole to spend the buff so that this becomes not mighty anymore and you can make it mighty again through Cole. Which is, once again, pretty cool interaction, right? Like, this Fiora is 5 here because it has a +1 buff. Like, from the previous turn, let's say. You spend the buff of Cole, so this card goes back to 4 for some time. And then when Cole resolves, it goes back to 7, and then you can ramp with Fiora once again. So it's about, like, if you have something like Fiora, Pit, Cole, you just go Pit on there, pay 0 power, you ramp with this, and then next turn you go Cole, you spend the buff, you pay 0 power again, and you ramp again. So it's like giga good. It's like super good actually. So this was about the turn 1 lineup, and then regarding the other bodies, I wanted either some good targets for becoming mighty, or some utility cards. And fortunately enough, yellow and orange are getting to a point in which most of the cards are both good catalysts for becoming mighty and good cards, like good utility cards. So this Fiora I already talked about. First Mate, I don't really need to talk about First Mate. I think First Mate is super good. Being able to restand without being afraid of a DeFi or something is giga good. I was playing 3 of these. I decided to cut 1. Especially because this is not a card that you really do want to see in the early game. And this deck, when you get to the spots in which like you can fight for the board, you draw a lot. And so being able to draw a lot made it so I would see my First Mate when I wanted it in the mid to late game, which was like important compared to seeing it in the early game, which was like not something I really wanted. So First Mate, I mean, I don't have to talk about it. Set though, I have to talk about it. This card is completely cracked in that list. Like this card, in that list, this card literally makes no sense. Let me just switch up the music League of Legends. This, I believe. Yeah, great. Perfect. These cards in that deck is like illegal broken. So what happens with that set is like you play it on spawn, it's a 5/4 energy, right? Which reads when you play me, buff me. So on spawn, it buffs itself, goes to 5, allowing it to become mighty, triggering Fiora, re-ramping a rune. So basically you don't pay a power for this set. This is how you have to see it. It's like I'm not paying a power to pay orange set, which is already like super good. You have a 5/5 unit with a strong ability that you don't pay a power to play. That's already super good. And then next turn, if it's not dead, it gets even better than that. Because then if you want to spend the buff to conquer, how it actually resolves it is like it has a +1 buff. You spend it, so we don't have it anymore. Let me just switch to yellow. We don't have this anymore because we spent it to try to get +4. This starts a chain in which we are a 4 might unit. So 4. And then when it resolves, we get to 8. And so this thingy here, this thingy in which we get to 4, from 4 to 8, is becoming mighty. And so it also triggers Fiora. So basically this set is like built-in ramp in the deck. It's like you play it, you buff, you tap Fiora, you ramp, so you don't pay the power, and then next turn, it restands, you just spend the buff, give +4, you made it mighty, you ramp again. So this is like a super good way to trigger the legend ability. Of course, it's also a big unit that allows you to break bigger boards, bigger battlefields. It's like super good. And it's also very threatening on the defensive side, which this deck sometimes lacks. You're very good at pushing, but sometimes you have a hard time threatening on defense through your units alone. If you have runes open, it's like very good, but through your units alone. And why is that so? It's because you spend, you get to 8, then you conquer, you trigger set, and you grant yourself another buff for the rest of the game. So like you are back to 5, and also you have a buff, which means if we have the opportunity to play something like Call to Glory, we can do it for free, which makes this set like even harder to trade, because what's giga hard when you're facing Fiora is the math. You have to consider that for every single rune, it could potentially be a +5. For every single buff, it could potentially be a 3/3. If you pay a spell, it could potentially be defied and giving them extra might. And if you want to attack with something super big, you could potentially die to Iron Blade. So it's basically some sort of like, you can't really solve the problem, and you have to make gambles based on what you saw, what's in the trash, the runes open, but you can't really be like 100% affirmative, as in like, I'm going to be able to break that board if they have runes open and cards in hand. Which is what felt super good with the deck, and also kind of felt frustrating because we are in the early days of set 2 format. So there are some games in which I had like 2 runes open and I was making a risky play knowing I don't have punch first, but they have to play as if I had it. But since it's the early days of the format, like they did not consider the card, and they threw, like they fight it back in that battlefield that they would have never contested if they considered Purge first as an option. And then I just have like my unit that dies, and I'm like, I have like 5 in hand. If I have punch first, you just lose the game on the spot. But since I don't have it, like I guess GG's, you get that one. So this was kind of frustrating, but I feel like the more people are going to learn to play into Fiora, the harder it's going to get for them. And they will have to make gambles anyway. So that's about it for set. It's like really, really super cracked in the deck. And then I added Action, which is a card I did not test, but on paper, I don't see this card being not good. So Action, let me just show you Action. Let's just check Action. Action, here we go. Action is a 4/4 unit without a power cost, so pretty much what we want in the deck. Once again, a not mighty unit with a good effect. This one reads Weapon Master, which we're never going to use because, as you may have noticed already, I'm not playing any equipment in the deck. I've talked about it already, but I'm going to talk about it a bit more like later on. And then the Action ability is pretty cool. It's like you may pay 2 orange power as an additional cost to play me, when you play me, if you pay the additional cost, you may move an enemy gear to your base. So basically you steal an enemy gear, and then you control it until I leave the board. And if it's an equipment, you can attach it to me. This is super good into a lot of them gear matchups. I was expecting Sabotage to be enough, but there are some matchups in which you want to use Sabotage to deal with the spells, like the Punch First, the Rebukes, the Fight or Flight, like that kind of like high impact action spells that you can check with Sabotage. And then you still want to have some kind of like extra core to deal with the gears. Let's say I'm playing into Draven. I want to have access to Sabotage to deal with like the codes I just mentioned, Rebuke, Foth, and stuff. And then I also want to be able to deal with the Spinning Axe, which is Draven's signature gear. And Action allowed me to do exactly that, which is something that I loved. In theory, I did not play it, but in theory, I really do love it. And then you have to pay 2 power to play it. But if you equip a gear, let's say Guardian Angel or like quick draw gears, as in like Sterak, Longsword, Spinning Axes, these kind of gears, you make Action mighty because you equip it to it. And so you ramp that rune through Fiora, and so you don't pay the 2 powers, you only pay 1. Which in the end, 1 power to steal a gear feels pretty good to me. Very cool toolbox. So I decided to include it in the deck, and I think we have to run that card from now on. I really do like Action in theory. I really think it's a good card, and shoutouts to one of my testing partner, Iadix, for giving me this idea, and I really enjoyed it. So that's about it for unit. We talked about like turn ones, we talked about utility and big like swingers, we talked about the champion. Now let's talk about the spells, because surprisingly enough, while set, so legend set, not like set champion, legend set was a brawler. Like he really did bear his name. Like he was like fighting with like big units, dropping units, saving them, dropping them again, like fighting really with the Lucian and stuff. Fiora feels more like a spell-based deck, which is crazy to me, as in like you're playing body order, and the most important part of your gameplay feels like it's spells, actually. And so that's why I played a pretty big lineup of spells. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, brother? So we play a pretty big lineup. Oh, am I speaking French? I might be. I might have been like letting go 1 or 2 words in French, but yeah, English is the way now. I'm playing a pretty big lineup of buff spells, and once again, the idea behind worst matchups of the Fiora for you. Interesting question. Probably. Let me check. Wait, let's just be done with like the spells thingy, like the list overall, and then I'm answering you based. Okay, let's do that, because then we're going to like have a section in which we answer questions. If I forget to answer your question specifically, you remind me. Okay. So I wanted to play a lot of buff spells compared to equips, because the idea was that I wanted to buff my units once, and then they go below the mighty threshold, so next turn I can make them mighty again. Compared to like equips, in which like, let's say I equip something like Doran Blade, which is like just +2 might straight up to a unit. I equip it to like Fiora. Then the problem is, if I have to play a punch first on that Fiora in like later on in the game, I'm not making her mighty because she's mighty already. So I'm not proccing the Fiora ability, and I really don't want that. I really don't want to deramp a lot. I really want to have the option to mitigate for my spell costs. So I decided to play pump spells instead of... Yo brother, how you doing? Thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas to you too, brother. I really wanted to have like that lineup of spells, and surprisingly enough, we are getting to a point in which like orange and yellow have a super strong lineup of pump spells. So the first one is Punch First. I don't really need to talk about Punch First so much. This card is just like crazy chungus. Like this does not make sense how strong this is. For those who would not know Punch First is... let me just clear the pen here. Punch First is one of the better cards in the set. Probably top 3 cards in the set, if not like top 1. This is 1 energy and 2 power. Action, you give a unit +5 this turn. 2 power seems expensive, but it has a lot of ops. As in like, I'm not scared about like Defy. I only target my units, so you can't use not so fast. So basically this card is something that they can't really counter. They have to like face it and deal with it. And when you're playing defense, like when you're playing holding, this turns every single one of your energies into an immense threat that they have to be wary about, right? Like they can't come crashing into even the smallest units because all of a sudden it's like 8 might. And that's like super good. So punch first, you obviously have to play 3 of these. Most of the time you only pay a power because you ramp through Fiora. So like it's 1 energy and 1 power give +5. Like this is crazy sick. Then buffs, we have back-to-back. At first I wanted to play 3 of back-to-back. In the end I only end up playing 2 of those because the other ones are just like straight up better. But back-to-back is a pretty good card. This is a card from set 1 actually that was not seeing a lot of play, but it's like reaction, give 2 friendly units +2. And the cool part is that this one is a reaction compared to like punch first, which is an action. So playing into spells, back-to-back is a better card than like punch first, primal and stuff. But since we already have Call to Glory and Riposte to play into spells, I kind of felt like I could cut on one back-to-back. But let's say I'm playing into like Kaisa, I would probably be pretty happy to have a back-to-back to protect both targets from the Falling Star. Like let's say she targets like Monkey and then First Mate, and I just go back-to-back, I buff both of them, then First Mate becomes Mighty, I can ramp a card. This kind of still makes sense. So you could go back to playing 3 back-to-backs. I decided only to play 2, but I really like that cards. Call to Glory, obviously, we have to play. We can pay it with Set's buff, we can pay it with Monkey's buff, and we can pay it with Rookie's buff. So, like, yeah, this card is just, like, super good. Reaction to play around spells. There's just not much to say about that card, aside from that it's, like, giga good, cracked. Then I'm also playing Primal, so let's just have them circled. So, for the buff spells. I'm also playing 2 Primals. The idea was that in this format, the biggest thing you have to be afraid about when you're a fighting deck is punch first and the +5 might it gives you. And then if you are afraid of punch first, you kind of need to have more punch first than your opponent to be able to win the trades. And the closest thing to punch first, was Primal. As in like it gives +7. It beats punch first. So let's say you attack with something like a 4 might Fiora into a 4 might turn 1 from me. If they play punch first and I play Primal, I win this interaction. The only thing is that Primal dies to Defy, whereas punch first does not. So overall, feels like punch first is better, but I wanted to be the one having the more punch firsts in my deck, and Primal was the card getting close to that. So I'm even playing the 3rd one in sideboard to deal with like big bodies matchups. Yi, potentially Set, Mirror, potentially Rumble. Like there are matchups in which you need to punch really hard, and having access to both punch first and Primal felt good in that idea. And then we have the Riposte, which is a mandatory 3 of. This is probably the best cards in the deck, or maybe it's Orange Set, but like both of these are. No, it's probably like Riposte. Probably the best card in the deck. Let's just check what Riposte does, because if you guys don't know, you're not going to believe what you're going to read. Ripostes. Riposte is a 2 energy, 2 power spell that reads reaction. Choose a friendly unit and a spell. Counter that spell and give that unit +might equal to that spell's energy cost this turn. So basically, this is Defy, but for any spell in the game. You can counter, I countered Singularity, I countered Falling Star, I countered Time Warp with this. Like you can basically counter every spell in the game for 2 energy, and then you make one of your units mighty so that you don't have to pay 2 power, but rather you only pay 1. Which makes it so that this card, for Fiora, is a buff spell that costs 2 energy and power, that can negate any spell your opponent would want to use, and that can win you a trade then, because you buff your unit, and then like either they can't trade into it if it's their turn, or you have a bigger unit to try and trade with if it's your turn. So like this card is giga correct. You have to play 3 of Riposte. There's no discussion to have about that card. It's completely cracked. And this makes it so that we have a 3, 6, 9, and then +4. We have 13 buff spells in the game, are in the deck, sorry, plus the potential Primal Strengths in the sideboards, which makes it so that mathematically, we have good odds of like having a spell to buff every turn, which is what we want, right? We don't want to spend a full turn without using Fiora's ability. Like the only things we want to do if like we don't spend Fiora's ability is like I'm holding and I hold runes to play something like a punch first defensively, and then they are too afraid of punch first and they don't come trading you, and then you obviously don't use it because you don't need to, right? You keep the resource in hand, and that's when you're happy not using Fiora's ability. But aside from that, we really want to maximize our capacity to use and abuse Fiora's ability. And then there's a bit of toolbox, which surprisingly once again felt giga good. The first card that I want to talk about, because this one I was not surprised about feeling good, is Sabotage. Sabotage is cracked in set 2 formats. It's probably even better than it ever was in set 1. While it was already pretty good, like it was already a pretty decent sideboard / main deck card, but in set 2 format it's completely cracked. I'm considering adding a third one on instead of the Gentleman Duo. I still have to think about that one, but the idea is that Sabotage allows you to get rid of Punch First, which you have no way of countering aside from that. It allows you to get rid of Rebuke, which you have no way of playing around. It allows you, except of course Riposte, it allows you to play around Fight or Flight, and it allows you to play around gears. Because if they have a super strong gear that they want to protect in the end, can be Aurora of course, but can be some equips, something like Sterak, something like what do we have, GA, that kind of stuff that's pretty boring, like pretty hard to deal with. You can just Sabotage it away, and basically this allows you to secure your trades. As in, like, I have an 8-might set. The only thing that could beat my 8-might set is a Punch First, and I really need to get a hold of that battlefield. Let me just check your hands. Okay, you have a Punch First, I get rid of it, and then like I just punch with set and I know it's going to go through. So this card was cracked. You definitely have to main deck it. So far I'm siding the third one, but maybe it's coming to the main deck soon because it really feels super good in that set 2 format. And then we have the removals, which I was not so sure I wanted to play that much of, but they ended up feeling cracked in Hidden Blades, Challenge, and Gentleman's Duel. The card that maybe we have to read is Gentleman's Duel, because probably some of you guys don't know what exactly Gentleman's Duel does. Let me just show you. Oh, I have to toggle all sets though. All sets, Gentleman. Gentleman Duel is a 6 energy and a power action that you can give +3 might to one of your units this turn, and then you choose an enemy unit and you resolve challenge, basically. That's what the card is. In the end, in Fiora, it's like you don't pay the power because you make a unit mighty through it, and then you get to clear one of your opponent's units. Most of the time, this allows you to get a conquer and a kill, because like you're going to buff, then kill someone, then with the buff you're going to be able to conquer. So like this felt super good. And also this is not defiable, and like there are some matchups in which you have to be able to deal with the base specifically, and Gentleman Duel and Challenge were super good tools to do that. So maybe I'm running like the second Gentleman in the sideboards. I was running 2 Gentlemen in the main. I decided to cut one for a action, but maybe I'm running a second Gentleman in the sideboards for some matchups in which sniping base is super important, or like if Rumble becomes popular, this allows you to dodge the shield ports. There are a lot of cool interactions. And then Challenge is just the cheaper Gentleman's Duel, which allows you to use your super big set, your super pumped Fiora or actions that have a punch first resolved, that have a primal resolved, to be able to clear another unit with them, and that basically values your buffing spells twice. This was cracked. I really do love it. Also, all of these spells allow you to target in the Dreaming Tree, so we have like 1 billion Dreaming Tree targets. Yo, Malo, how you doing, brother? Thank you for the Prime, brother. Much love. Thank you for the supports. We have like have like 1 billion Dreaming Tree targets, and Hidden Blades, probably because I add enough removals, I think Iron Blade is such a strong card. Like being able to add, being able to like instantly kill some units for a very cheap amount of runes is like pretty good. The thing with Iron Blade is that most of the time I was far enough ahead in games to be able to kill my own turn once to draw cards. As in, like, I'm in the Dreaming Tree, mine or theirs, because a lot of decks are playing Dreaming Tree so far in the format. Maybe I like managed to have a unit in the Dreaming Tree, like let's say a Fiora, and they don't push into it because they're too afraid of a punch first. Most of the time, what ended up happening is like I'm playing a 2-drop, a Rookie, a Monkey, a Unsung, whatever, in that Dreaming Tree. Then I'm retreating the Fiora to base, I'm hiding the Blade, and then I'm just drawing like straight up 3 of the Dreaming Tree, because I draw 2 of killing my units, and then I draw 1 because I targeted through the tree. This is what happened most of the time, but I still think we need this as a way to deal with like some bothersome units. Maybe stuff like Ord and stuff like, yeah, I've not tested into like every single deck in the field like 10 times, so yeah, I'd probably play the Blade. It just felt good overall. And that's about it for the main board, which actually was like super good. I really recommend, if you like playing like tempo decks that really try to capitalize on like having good interaction after good interaction, positive outcome, and then like you grind your advantage into that game, and you still manage to have a lot of cards in and a lot of runes through effect and battlefields, then you should replay that deck, because that deck feels super good. Talking about having cards in hands, I played all 3 draw power battlefields. This is something that I was not able to do in set 1, that I'm super happy to be able to do in set 2, as playing 3 concrete draw power battlefields. Because in set 1, we could play Grove, we could play Tree, and then the third one had to be some sort of shenanigan of like, what's the name? Candlelit, so you look at the deck but you don't really draw, or like Warrens, so you draw but you discard, so you don't really create card advantage. Whereas now in set 2 we have access to all of these 3 battlefields that are like completely cracked. So game 1, I play Sunken Temple. When you get in Sunken Temple with a mighty unit, you can just pay a power, an energy to draw a card. Basically, every time you're going to be able to conquer in Sunken, since you have so many roots in the deck, you are just going to be able to draw, which is like super good. You can also value it a lot because of Fiora, because like you can conquer in there, then make Fiora gank the other battlefield, and then like you have that idea of like I conquered, I rescinded it because of that Fiora. So the sequence, yeah, let me show you the sequence, because maybe it's a bit like shady for you guys. It's like this Fiora, this one, is up in base, right? Fiora is up in base, and I have this in base 2, or maybe I just played it, it's tapped, but like whatever, let's say it's tapped. And I have like, I played this on 4, so we are maybe on like 6. I have the energy to play something like back to back, whatever. I'm just going to push Fiora, or this Fiora, into Sunken. Then it's 4 might, and while conquering Sunken, I can go back to back, buff that Fiora to 6, and then ramp a rune with this Fiora, and use this Fiora to pay a rune and untap it. And so it lands in Sunken, mighty, and able to gank because it's mighty. And also I'm able to tap an energy to draw 1. And then I can just use the ganking ability to go to the other battlefield. And then next turn I have Sunken open once again to draw. Whereas usually when you conquer with a mighty unit, it remains there. And like you can't conquer next turn. At least that's what your opponent's like is gonna try to do. He's gonna let you hold, so you can't conquer and draw another card. But with this combo, you can do so. So like this is super valuable. And then going first, I play Grove. So this is basically like game 1. Game 1. Going first, I play Grove, and going second, I play the Dreaming Tree. That just felt super good. I always add like I cards count in hand. I always add I rune counts to play them. The problem would be like if you have a lot of runes but you don't have cards in hand, it does not make sense. And if you have a lot of cards in hand but if you don't have the runes to play them, it does not make sense neither. This deck allows you to have both, which felt super good. So that's about it for the battlefield lineup, and that's why I decided to play this. Runes might seem a bit weird at first, but there's a problem actually with this Fiora that I feel like is very weird. It's like we only play Eden Blade. as a yellow power card. So we could potentially play something like 8 orange or even like 9 orange and only like 3 yellows. Because most of the time, Eden Blade we're going to want to hide anyway. So we could play with an orange. And like very rare are the times you want to play Eden Blade from the hand. But this Fiora, weirdly enough, to restand a unit that just became mighty, you can't pay a like any color power. You have to pay a yellow power specifically, which is kind of weird, right? Most of the cards that read like pay power to do X or generate X power gives you a like no color power, like an overall power that you can use for any color. That's not the case for this Fiora. You have to pay with a yellow power. So we have to still pay 5 yellow, despite not wanting to play that many yellow power burn cards so far. Because then on turn 2, you have that very cool interaction that I talked about before, as in like you have that Fiora in base from you going second. So you have 3 runes, you drop that Fiora. And then next turn you drop that set. It buffs itself, becomes mighty. You spend a rune, you ready it. And then you spend the buff, you go to 8 and you can punch right away with that set. And so to do that, we need to have a yellow rune on 5 runes turn 2. And so we need to have at least 5 of them to make the ratio not too unlikely to happen. Which is why I ended up playing like 5 yellow runes. But yeah, it's still like pretty good to be able to play like these Eden Blades and these Sabotages in the side. So not too bad, right? Yo, Jeremy House. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much for the support. Much love. Much love, my friend. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you all, by the way. Probably some of you are celebrating Christmas today. Merry Christmas to you all and much love. Thank you so much for the support. And then regarding sideboards, I mentioned before that I did not want to have so much of a sideboard discussion, but since I was playing a tourney, I had to bring a sideboard. So I tried to make a generic one. I talked about Primo already. It's too big bodies deck. Rumble, Yi, Mirror, Set. Like them matchups that like to stack bodies on the board. You want to be able to crush them with some of them big spells. Sabotage is especially good into orange and purple. So I'm bringing in the third copy into orange and or purple to deal with like the cards that I mentioned before. Rebuke, Fight or Flight, Punch First, blah blah blah, Gears. And then we have 2, I feel like generic 2 boxes. One of them is Unyielding. Unyielding allows you to dodge ability and spells damage, obviously. So I was afraid of being paired into potentially Kaisas and stuff. I was kind of considering that this deck has a tough time facing Kaisa. Even though you have the Deflect Fiora, if they just keep removing every single one of your units, it could be kind of tough. If you don't draw the counter or the reaction buffs to be able to deal with this. So I felt like adding Unyielding would not be too bad instead of Primal, because then Primal is an action, so you can't chain it to a damage spell to protect your unit. So I'd rather have Unyieldings in the deck. And on the other end, Savage was more for gear decks, especially decks like Ornn or Yi that will be bringing in GAs. It was not so much about Aurora, because I feel like Aurora is not going to see so much play in set 2, especially because there's so much gear 8 going around. Like every red deck is playing Thermal Beam, every yellow deck is playing Salvage. It was more about like being able to deal with like them big towers that if I have to punch through one or several GAs/Zonias, I'm just going to run out of resources because I need to use set, spend the buff, punch into Ornn, but like Ornn is 12 might, so I have to use punch first. Then I kill the Ornn, but it has GA, so it comes back, trades my set, and the next turn I have to play another unit and another buff. Like these never-ending trades are not going my way. Like they are just scaling better than I am. So I wanted to be able to remove those GAs and those Zonias before fighting, so that way I could find an opening to kill the towers. And also, it ended up being kind of good in a Lucian game. So I'm thinking bringing this into Draven and into Lucian might not be so bad, and maybe into other decks. Because what happened was that they come, I play a buff, whatever. Let's say I play Call to Glory, like a standard one, not a giga big one as in Punch First. But like, I play Call to Glory, and they go Quick Draw Axe to equip. the spinning axe that gives +3, like the Draven's thingy. And then I go, okay, resolves, action priority, sabotage, and I kill the axe. And like this has a lot of value because the axe is perma +3. And I draw a card off of it. So, and they don't have a way to deal with that, obviously. Like, they don't have a card that prevents me from salvaging their axe. So I really love that card. I think it's a very good sideboard card. The action keyword actually did put in work. And I really feel like you have to play it in the sideboards in set 2. Maybe you could play some in the main board instead of actions. But maybe I'm afraid of running out of bodies if we take out 2 extra bodies to play spells. So I'd rather have the actions in the main and then bring in the salvage from sideboard for the matchups in which I really need them. So that's about it for the list. Now it's time to answer your questions and also talk about the cards I did not fit in the deck. How about we answer these questions first? Worst matchups of Fiora for you. Let me check. Spirit Forged. In my opinion, the other matchups would be the ones in which like they have a lot of control tools, and the ones in which like they have a lot of spells that allow them to deal with your bodies. Because then I was talking about sabotage, I was talking about riposte, but like realistically you can only hope to see 1 or 2 of these in the entire game. If they manage to have something like double rebuke and then fight or flight, you probably can't play around everything. So I would say probably you are one of the decks that has the answers into purple, but if purple sees too much purple removal, then it can become like a bit rough. And then aside from that, probably like Kaisa would still be a, now I would not say a tough matchup, but a matchup I would be afraid to face, because if I don't have the right tools at the right time, so like sabotage to check the spells, riposte to counter the falling star, or like the Fiora to have the deflect, if I don't have all of these tools and she just goes like falling star and then like rain, most likely I'm losing that game without a shot at winning it. The thing is, like, I have a lot of counters in the deck, but I have to find them. So if she manages to get on that super early play a lot of spells game plan, it could be tough. But probably this deck could very well win Chikasa. Like, I would not say it's impossible to win in Chikasa. This Fiora being 3-might though scares me in Chikasa. Because like, if I drop a turn 1 and then drop this Fiora and they go Falling Star, if I don't have a buff, it's already starting to be a pain, right? So yeah, I would probably say these are the toughest matchups faced. And then, regarding cards I decided not to play. Equips, I talked about them already, but we could just... yeah, it's yellow and orange, but whatever. Them cards, as in like Doran's Blade, as in like X-Drinker, then you probably want to play Strike Down, and yellow as something like BF. Well, there are a lot of like decent equips. Even Drinker that gives like Deflect is not too bad. There are a lot of decent equips, but I don't see myself paying a power to make my unit mighty once, to then not be able to make it mighty more in the game because it's already mighty perma, and then I did not ramp because I paid the power. It's either like I ramp making them mighty through like Rookie, back-to-back, Cold Glory, and then I allow myself to spend the buff to do some cool stuff, cool tricks, or I just make them mighty temporarily through like back-to-backs, Fierce, Punch First, Riposte, and then I just mitigate the court cost. So I really did not want to play equips in that deck, which is why I decided not to. And so I'm not playing the Weapon Master package, the Veteran Poro and stuff. I'm not playing the equips. I'm not playing the Discord Strike Down. I'm just playing like good toolboxes that are a bit more flexible, in my opinion. Same for buffs. I wanted my deck to be super flexible, and I did not want it to be like one big axis. If like set is that, right? Set is like you have to buff your units. If you don't find buffs, you lose the game. I did not want to see that, and so I really wanted Fiora to be able to be a like toolbox deck, and so I did not want to commit into that like arena boar, then war up that spends buff, but then if you don't spend buff, it's not like super giga good. Then orange Lucian, that's like every unit that's buff is +2 might, but then like you have to have a lot of buffs, right? So I prefer toolbox compared to them big, let's say buff-centric cores. Then there are 2 cores that I really did consider playing that were in my builds at first. I'm just going to show one of them, and the other one is basically the same. These cores are like Show of Strength, and the other one is Spoils of War. Show of Strength is like you pay 2 energy and a power, and as a reaction, you draw 1 for each of your mighty units, which ends up being most likely draw 2. Most of the time, if it's more than draw 2, it's because you were winning already. The idea is like, I have a unit on board, I make it mighty, then I drop a mighty unit. So let's say it's my turn, I untap with a Fiora. I have what it takes to make it mighty, as in the spell. Then I can play a set, and then I can play the Show of Strength and draw 2. Which felt good, but I kind of felt like my draw power battlefields were enough. Maybe I'm mistaken and I want to add 1 or 2 Show of Strengths in there. And the other code that I was mentioning is the same. It's Spoils of War, all sets. It's like if you kill enemy unit this turn, it's only 2 energy and a power, which is most likely how you want to play it, and then it's draw 2. It's a bit less conditional than Show of Strengths. Probably I'm playing that one if I have to play one. But I don't think playing any of these is necessary if you run that battlefield lineup, which gives you a lot of draw power. Oh, and then similar chords is Death Grip. Someone asked me on Twitter why I was not playing Death Grip, so I decided I should talk about it. Death Grip is like kill a friendly unit, and then you can give might equal to its might to another friendly unit this turn and draw 1 as a reaction. So I guess the idea is kind of like, I have orange set, I make it infinite might, then I punch, then I play Death Grip, I kill it, I buff one of my other units, and then I make it infinite might again, and I punch the other battlefields, and I draw 1, so I don't lose value off of it. On paper, it does not feel so bad, but like in reality, killing one of your units when you're not running that many, I'm only running 8 top ends and 8 starters plus the first mate, which is kind of in between and Fiora. So I have like 8 top end, I don't want to kill this. I have 8 smaller units, I could see killing this, but then I don't have so many units once again. And I have some mid-game units that I could see, but like I could see killing, but there's not so many of these. So I'd prefer running like 3 quote-unquote buffs, as in I don't have to kill anyone, or I don't have to pay a power, than playing that card, even if the draw 1 definitely feels good. And that's about it for the Fiora talk. Are there any questions? Or should we jump onto the next legends? You guys feel free to ask if you want to. I feel like we went over a lot of stuff, so probably we went over everything there is to say so far. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now or even later on. I'm going to answer regardless. And how about we jump onto the next legend of the night? Which one do you guys want to see? Should I play her in Bologna? I could see playing her in Bologna, yes. I could see... The only thing is that we don't know so much about the format. So if there is a deck that Fiora has a super hard time dealing with, that kind of becomes S tier. It obviously becomes like biased, right? But from my understanding of the format so far, I really feel like this deck is very good. Having access to all of the tools this deck has access to is like very, very good. So I would definitely put it at least A tier, maybe bottom S tier. The only thing is that it kind of feels too fair in a way. Like, I don't feel like there's a game-breaking interaction in all of that list. Maybe Sabotage is game-breaking. Yeah, maybe Sabotage is unfair. But there's not like... Oh, Punch first too. I mean, yeah, she's kind of unfair if you think about it. So... yeah, you could probably want to play that in Bologna. I'm probably playing that... If I'm not finding success with the green decks that I enjoy so much, I'm probably playing Fiora in set 2 formats. I mean, like... this is close to a green deck, right? You have buffs, you have control, you have counters. Like, this is definitely a deck that you love to play if you're a good player. At least you should definitely try it. And I feel like you could want to play this in Bologna, yes. Thanks for all the advice. No worries, brother. No worries. Why did I get this seed, though? Give me a second. Thank you for the follow. Thank you so much for the support. Much love. Let me just reconnect to archive, because somehow I've been disconnected for whatever reason. And I kind of don't want to leak my personal email address, though. Here we go. What do we want to talk about, guys? Do we want to talk about Rumble? Do we want to talk about Lucian? Or do we want to talk about League of Draven? I guess probably we talk about Lucian now, so that's out of the way. I don't have a lot to say about Lucian. I'm just like, I think there's the need to make an early guide for each of these legends, but does that make all of this good? Probably not. And I feel like Lucian is in that range of like, I don't think Lucian is good. I really don't think Lucian is good. It's fun, it's gimmicky. If you like playing aggro, you might enjoy it. Let's talk about Lucian. Lucian deck for set 2. Let's talk about Lucian first, and then we're going to talk about the bigger eaters in Rumble and Draven. So let's start with the legend as per usual. Lucian Purifier is a red-orange legend that reads your equipments each give assault +1 while attacking. So there's not much I want to say about this aside from like it's really bad. It's really bad. It's not a lot of value for a pretty costly mechanic. Like equips, you have to play them using energy, and then you have to pay power to equip them, and then you get assault 1. It's not like you get like deflect or you get like assault 2 or you ready your units. I would have loved Lucian to be like, when you equip to a unit, pay a power, ready it. Like this would have been like super good, but this effect is pretty shit. So this is the effect we're going to have to build with. And then we have this champion. I decided not to play the red one. The red one is like way too slow, way too low to the ground in what it can do. When you have everything, as in like you have a lot of gears, you eat something like Cleave or Blood Rush, you can make this Lucian pretty big, but then it just dies, right? As in like, it punches super big, and then it's in the battlefield, and they just kill it. And that's about it. So yeah, this makes the deck like super gimmicky, super combo. I'd rather play the orange Lucian. So this one is a 3 energy, 3 might champion unit that has Weapon Master. Pretty good, because then like you can skip one of the power cost of equipping, better than none, right? And then the first time I conquer each turn, you can ready me. And this is going to be the entire purpose of the deck, is like, we want to set up that Lucian, we want to make it some sort of like tower in a way, with several equips, 2 or 3 equips, big enough to be able to contest the board. And then we just want to get in the battlefield, conquer through like the assault stuff of the legend, and then get out. Like, ready, go back to base. And then do it again. Next turn. Ready, go to battlefield, conquer, ready, go back to base. It's some sort of mosquito, basically. As in, like, you never catch me, and then I try to score points. Obviously, we're going to talk about the SIG, but you can abuse the SIG to score extra points. The only problem that I felt is, like, this strategy is only viable if the opponent's deck is a deck that can't clear the base. Like playing 0 removal. Then, okay, this strategy seems strong, because you're playing into Irelia, you're playing into, like, what, Draven that does not run Falling Star, and then you're like, okay, I'm Mosquito, I go, like, right, left, and then I have, like, Deflect if you want to trade me with a spell. I'm like, I'm never being in reach, sort of. But the problem is, like, if they play Falling Star, if they play Challenge, if they play Gentleman Duel, if they play Eden Blade, if they play Cold Week, and you only have this Lucian, and you lose it, you almost lost the game on the spot. So I really don't think this Lucian is such a great unit, such a great deck, sorry. I think this Lucian is a good unit though, but it's too gimmicky to be a complete strategy, viable strategy. And so we have to play a gimmicky deck, but don't get me wrong. The list I'm going to show you is probably not like super good. Let me pull up the PNG. Where is it at? It's here. Pew pew, but bad. Kinda like sums up everything that I felt playing against that deck and theorizing it. So, as I mentioned, we kind of want to make a one Lucian army deck that we roam around the board with. The thing is, as I mentioned, if this Lucian gets killed, your strategy is close to doomed. So we kind of have to play 3 of this. It's not that bad because it's probably like close to the best unit in the deck. So you'd rather play 3 of this than most likely anything else. So I don't hate playing 3 of each. Also, it does not have a power cost. So you can like have 2 on the board and not be too far behind in your resources. The only thing is that if we want to play 3 of this and drop several units on the board, we have to play a lot of equips to be able to value all of them units. And so that's what I tried to do with that list. Also because like equips give plus assault 1. So we have to value that too. And so I'm playing a full lineup of equips for red and orange, as in like 3 Dirks, which gives assault 2, but because of Lucian it gives assault 3. 3 X-Drinkers, which gives deflect and 1 might and assault 1 because of Lucian. Long Sword, which is plus 2 and quick draw, and then Doran's Blade, which is plus 2, not quick draw. The idea is that this deck does not want to play a turn 1 going first. It just wants to drop an equip on the board, and ideally not sword because you don't want to pay the power cost, but you just want to drop an equip on the board. And then next turn, you can go Lucian, and you can equip one of the equips, and then you have the might to not die to 1 Falling Star ping, and potentially you have the deflect to protect yourself from it. Because removal, once again, is a big problem for this deck. So you don't play a turn 1. You really do play a lot of equips that you want to drop on turn 1. So we have, in theory, 9 turn 1s plays here with the Doran's Blade, the Dirk, and the X-Drinker. And then next turn, you can just spawn Lucian on board, use Weapon Master to equip for free. And then either you play second equip or you just pass, and then the turn after that you can start developing your game plan as Lucian is going like to the right, to the base, to the left, to the base, and so on. Then we have several options as to what we want the toolbox for the deck to be. I would not say all of these are good options, which is why we are kind of maxing on this. Punch First obviously is a good option, and Sabotage 2, I just talked about them, but basically these are the cards that allow you to check the unfair cards in the format. Punch First checks Punch First. So you have to be playing it to match your opponent's Punch First, and Sabotage allows you to fish for gears, to fish for potential removal on your Lucian. Thinking Rebuke, Fight or Flight, Hidden Blades, Cold Weak. Like there are a lot of cards that you want to protect your Lucian from. So you definitely have to play several Sabotages. Unfortunately, we don't have access to Riposte, we don't have access to DeFi, we don't have access to Not So Fast in this color combination. So we have to play the Sabotage to try and protect the Lucian. And then as another part of the toolbox, I decided to play 3 Angle Shots. Angle Shots feels like one of the most underrated cards of the set to me. It's like giga good. In this deck, it's either... so maybe we want to read Angle Shot first, because maybe some of you guys don't know about it there. Angle Shot, where's the thing at? Yeah, here. Angle Shot is a reaction that for 2 energy allows you to choose a unit and an equip with the same controller, attach the equip to the unit, or detach the equip from the unit and then draw 1. So basically in this deck, it's either like they play something like Ornn, and Ornn has a GA, and you can kill Ornn, but if it goes back to base, you can't, like through the GA, you almost lost the game. You can just like use Angle to detach the GA on your opponent's Ornn, then kill it, then it does not get saved, of course, and then you draw 1. Or it's in your deck a way to pump your units in a showdown. So it can kind of become a sort of discipline, as in like you buff your unit and you draw 1 for 2 and no power cost, which is not so bad. So this is probably one of the best cards in the deck. You can use it to like attack with a Kaisa for, let's say, accelerated, and then they decide to use a spell to just like outmight you by 1 or 2. You can just use Angle and then add a Serrated Dirk to the Kaisa, draw 1, and then you give Assault 1 because of Lucian. So this Dirk is +3 now, and you did not pay the power cost. So it's not only a way to deal with your opponent's chord, but also a way to bypass the power cost, which it kind of feels like it's one of the better chords in the deck once you get to knowing what you're doing with the chords, actually. And then toolbox-wise, I'm also playing 2 Gem Jammers. I've seen people play 3 of these as a way to have some reliable early game body presence. I'd rather not have any. I've decided that with this list, I really don't want to drop a unit on turn 1. I'd rather drop an equip and then spawn Illusion, use the Weapon Master, and then start dropping other units, sorry. So this Gem Jammer is just sort of a toolbox. The good thing is that it allows me to equip things to it, so it gives ganking, and then on the next turn I can use it to push, which I don't hate, to be fair. I just really don't want to see it in the early game. And also Jammer is pretty good because it allows us to give ganking to this man. So if this man has a lot of equips, he just like goes to battlefields, conquer, restance, and then I can just Jammer, give it ganking, gank to the other battlefields, conquer. Does not restand, it only restands the first time it conquers a turn. But that allows me to clear both battlefields and have a lot of value from that Lucian. So I really did not hate Jammer, and I think it's a cool toolbox for the mid game. Aside from that, probably not want to play 3 of these, but it's a cool toolbox to be able to have ganking. Especially because we also have Relentless, which is sort of a better Jammer. Relentless is the signature spell for Lucian. We might need to read it because it's not that complicated, but the text is rather long and it can feel complicated. Relentless is an action that for 2 energy and a power allows you to move a friendly unit, attach an equipment with the same controller to it, and then this turn, that unit gains, when I conquer, you may move me to my base. And so the idea with this card is, once again, Orange Lucian. You conquer 2 battlefields, and then you play Relentless, and then you just move Orange Lucian to the other battlefield, you use Assault once again, and then you conquer and you proc the when I conquer you may move me to my base, and you go back to base. And so the Mosquito is able to score 2 points in a turn, which is kind of crucial in this deck because once again, you don't play a turn 1 on turn 1, like a unit, and then you only play Lucian on turn 2, so sometimes you can be a bit behind on like points, and you need to be able to like have that triangle of scoring several points a turn, which sometimes is kind of tough. So yeah, Relentless is just better Jammer, gives you a lot more options, also allows you to accelerate units that are in base. If you get to decent runes count and you want to accelerate a unit and you don't have access to Kaisa, you have to have Pursuits to be able to do so. So this card is pretty good. Just feels bad that the deck is sort of like gimmicky, of like going in, out, in, out, in, out, instead of like having a proper game plan. But I guess it is what it is. And then regarding units, I'm just playing. Thank you for the follow, Eric. Welcome home, brother. Hope you're doing great. Thank you so much for the support. Regarding the other units, we just have a lineup of good red and orange units. As I mentioned before, this deck hard loses to removal, so I decided to run 3 Ruin Runners. You could probably run only 2, but since this deck like super hard loses to removal, I guess you have to run 3. Ruin Runner is just like, I can't be chosen by enemy spells or abilities, so basically they have to deal with me through combat. This is going to be super good into specific decks, as in like Kaisa, as in once you equip like 1 or 2 equips to it, it's getting like big enough to be a problem. But there are some matchups in which it's not so good, especially like Fiora. When I was playing Fiora, I paired into a Lucian in the final, actually one of my friends, and just like he went Ruin Runner with 1 or 2 equips, and I went like 8 might set plus punch first in there, and like, what do you do, right? This Ruin Runner is just dying. So I don't like the card so much. I just feel like the deck needs to play it to be somewhat valuable. And then you can still use cards like Pursuits or like First Mate to be able to remove that runner from a battlefield, have it back in base, and then maybe you can like try to get value of it over several turns. Thank you so much for the follow, Hugo. Welcome on, brother. Hope you're doing great. Then the last 2 units that I decided to play were 3 cases. I mean, I guess I don't have to explain why I want to play 3 cases. This is just so good. Conquer, draw 1 just does not need you to have so much setup. If you have an equip, you can equip to it. If you have an angle shot, it gets even better, because then like you conquer, you push into something, you play the shot, you draw 1, you buff Kaisa, you draw 1. This card is just like cracked, as it's always been. Also, having accelerate was kind of important because this deck relies on assault. So if you only have tapped unit in base, you can't get value of the assault, which is why you need accelerate in there. And then action was about, once again, having tools to steal them big gears that are problems, Zonias, Guardian Angels, stuff like that. Basically, some sort of additional angle shot plus the Weapon Master, so we pay less power to equip, so we are kind of fine with paying the extra power to be able to attach from your opponent's board. And all of this combined felt like a decent top end, in which like you would always see 1 or 2 of each and every game. And this is what you need, basically. And then I have a bit of top end in the sideboard that I'm going to talk about later on. So that's about it for the deck philosophy. It's really like a mosquito, as in like unit, conquer, restand, base, conquer, restand, base. And like you try to never give free trades, or at least to never give trades at all. And you try to just like have everything in base, build stuff, equip a lot of stuff, pay as few power as you can, because sometimes it gets super power hungry, especially when you reach that late game situation and your board is cleared. Happened to me when I was playing Fiora. In like, they have a unit in the battlefield and a unit in base. I just push the unit in the battlefield, kill it, and then I use challenge to kill a unit in base. And then the next turn is like, if you want to have a bit of value on the next turn, you have to like drop Kaisa, accelerate it, so you pay a power already. Then equip some of them equips to be able to trade what's in the battlefield. So let's say you want to equip a Dirk and a Drinker. So this is 1 power, this is 1 power once again. This is all like, this entire operation is like 3 power. And then you have a Kaisa in the battlefield that still is very tradable, right? Because this is assault, this just gives +1. So once the board is cleared, it gets super costly. So you want to drop as few power as you can on the way to the late game and try to get to the rune counts that allow you to pay power in the late game to close the game. Then regarding battlefields, we actually have an interesting lineup of battlefields for this deck, which I was not a believer in finding 3 interesting battlefields for this deck, but I managed to find some, so might as well, right? The game 1 battlefield is Sunken. The idea behind Sunken is that your game plan is always going to be drop equips and then drop Lucian. And so Lucian is always going to be mighty when he conquers because he has assault +1 here. So basically, if he's equipped with something like Drinker, with something like Serenade Dirk, it gets assault 2 or +1 and assault 1. Then it conquers into Sunken, then it becomes mighty. And obviously, if it's equipped with either Longsword or Doran, it's straight up +2 might, so it's now 5 might straight, and it's mighty anyway. So Sunken is a good way to draw cards, and it's exactly the same thing I was describing with Fiora before, is that you get into Sunken, you tap an energy, you draw, then you restand Lucian, you get out of it. And so next turn you can just go into Sunken again, tap another energy, draw 1, and you can just do this like basically infinitely as long as your Lucian is alive. So this is a pretty good game 1 battlefields. And then going first, I wanted to play Forge of the Fluffed, which is while you control this battlefield, friendly legends have tap me, attach one of your re-equips to one of your units. Lucian does not have a tap me effect. Does not have a tap me ability. Lucian legend I'm talking about. So you might as well use Forge of the Fluffed to tap your legend, does not change a thing to what it does, and then equip without paying the power cost, which is kinda good. Once again, you want to drop as few power as you can. So going first, you are able to go into the Forge of the Fluffed, as in like I drop an equip, then I drop Lucian, then next turn I want to go in there. And since I used Weapon Master with Lucian, I did not pay the first power, and then I'm in the Forge and I'm not paying the extra powers. So I did not aid that. And going second, I'm playing the Windswept Hillock, which feels like it is the battlefield that allows you to get that point disadvantage that I was talking about. That is even worse going second, because either going second, you have the opportunity to do two things, depending on how the early game goes. The first thing is like, I have 3 runes, I just drop Lucian and I pass, and then I equip it later on. Or I drop something like Dirk plus Drinker, or Dirk plus Blade, and then next turn on 5, I'm dropping Lucian. The problem with that is that this is super slow, but there are some games and some matchups in which you can't drop Lucian on 3, because if you do so and they have something like Falling Star, the game is over on the spot. So you have to drop equips, and then on the next turn drop the Lucian, and so you have to have access to the Hillock to be able to have that. Lucian is there in base equipped, I push to the BF, I use effect, restand it, I push to Elock, restand it, then ganking, because the battlefield gives me ganking, I gank to the other BF, so I score 2 points a turn, and then I use something like First Mate or Pursuit to bring this Lucian back to base. And then next turn, I can just push to Hillock, restand, move there, and you can just like get back in the game using that mechanic. Once again, for those of you who just landed, don't get me wrong, this deck is not good. This deck is like barely playable as a fun combo deck. But this is definitely not a deck that you want to play if you're expecting it to be super good. Assault works with Sanko. I believe it does, yes. If you have an opponent in there, that is. If you have an opponent to face, because if you don't have an opponent, you don't proc Assault, and then you don't get the extra might. But then you need either 2 of these equips, or 1 of these, which is +2. Which is what you want most of the time. Let me just check if I'm not mistaken, but I believe it works, yes. As long as you have an opposing unit there, that is the rule. Let me check to make sure I don't say bullshit. Assault. We could check together if you will. I'm checking on the official Riftbound community Discord. Switcheroo. Is there something with Assault Sunken? Huh. Assault. If you move, you need mid-fight, does it gain shields? Sunken tempo plus Assault. Oh no, it does not work. Okay. Good to know, it does not work. So you have to have one of these, which I guess was the better plan, because most of the time, if you're going like in and out of Assault and it just gives you 3 units, they're dumb basses. I mean, right, you could still trade the first time with the Assault stuff, and then you have to have one of these, which makes sense. It kind of is important with Drinker though, so you're right to tell us, Rindy. Kinda is important with Drinker, because then Drinker gives 1, and Assault does not give +1. And so you are on 4 might. And then I guess you have to have one of the other equips, or you're not able to draw. But that does not change the plan for Sunken. It's you get in there with a Mighty Lucian, you draw, tap 1 draw, and then you have Lucian out of Sunken, and you just push back in, out again. That's about it for the battlefield lineup, I believe. Runes-wise, the problem with that deck is that there are games in which you only want to pay red, because you are only going to be assaulting in and out. Like, there are games in which you are going to be fighting into, like, as I mentioned, big bodies deck, as in like Fiora that don't really, not Fiora, set, sorry, like bodies decks that don't really have a way to deal with your base, and then you're just going to be like in out assault stuff. So you want to use Dirk, you want to use Longsword, you want to use Kaisa, you want to use Porsche. Like, these are your really good cards in the matchups, and there are matchups in which you need to play a bit more on the defensive end, and in these matchups, you really want to have Drinker on the board, you really want to have Punch first, and all of that combined makes it so that you have to play a 6-and-6 rune ratio, because then sometimes you want to play more red, sometimes you want to play more orange, and then you flex with the signature. But there are times in which I would have loved to have more red, and my opponents would have loved to have more red, and they did not, just straight up did not have red, because they were just like dying to spells, removal, and then like every turn they had to equip something like Dirk and Swords if they wanted to like compete for the boards. And then like every turn, if you are recycling 2 red runes, at some point you just don't have red runes anymore. Hello, mister. I know a guy that thinks Rumble is S tier and has a secret order to test decks, but won't let us join for now. It's not me, though. It's not me. And I guess we have to understand that these guys are like really working their butts off to be good at Riftbound and have a decent understanding of the meta before set to regionals in China, which are not so far actually right now. The first set to regional, I believe, is in something like 3 weeks. So yeah, you really have to like put in a lot of work before we know a lot about the formats. And Tog is one of them players that's doing that and planning to go to China, so we can't blame him for having his private testing circle. And he was nice enough to come out and give us intel on his deck building. So, I mean, makes sense. That is all, like, he keeps information. He gave us a lot already. Makes sense that he keeps some of it for his testing group, right? I think you need Skyfall plus Trinity to close games early as possible. Yeah, we are going to talk about that too, but I really don't like it. But we are going to talk about that, Rinzio. Let's just talk about sideboards. And then we're going to talk about potentially like cores that I did not opt to play. I'm working on my deck too. Can't wait for Bologna, but it's hard to find good testing partners. Yeah, it is. The thing that I advise is like, ask your locals if they're fine with playing proxies with set 2. This is the first step. And then try to scout 2 to 3 people which are either good and nice or have the potential to be good and are nice. And if you guys really want to grind and have good chemistry, you're just going to like get good together, right? That's what I did in Yu-Gi-Oh! I almost never played with like pro player on stuff. I just like had my crew in the city in which like I lived in. And like we were like all of us were bad at first, and then we playtested together for something like 2.5 to 3 years, and at some point all of us became like super good, and we had like several tops in like majors and stuff, kind of out of nowhere, because like we grew up together in a way. I just need to be all are serious about this game to test for regional. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. But most of the time, if you're living in a small city and or you don't have pro players nearby, because sometimes you just have them at your locals. But if you don't have like top players nearby, you just have to grow your community as you grow, and that's where you form the testing group, or you have to find a way to reach out to them online testing groups, which is not something I'm too fond of, but like I definitely see the point, right? I can't send my CV. Yeah, it's not about me though. I'm not the one being in the Discord server and stuff. I'm just a content creator these days. I love playing. I love the game. I think if I played a lot, I'd be rather good. I don't know if I would be able to win the events. It would be like really dependent on practice time. But I think I'd be good. But that's just not the place in where I want to be right now. Maybe later on though. You are the HR between me and those guys. If you want to get in there, what you have to do is reach out to Tog, not me. I'm not I'm not doing that. That's not my job. That's not who I want to be. But if you want to reach out to Tog, you probably just have to send a Twitter message or something, and he's probably going to reply, I guess. Then sideboard wise, as I mentioned it, we have a tough time dealing with like removal decks, spell-based decks. From my experience, it gets kind of tough into Kaisa, it gets kind of tough into Ezreal too. So being able to play Unyielding was pretty good, I would say. I mean, if you're playing an orange deck and you don't play Unyielding in the sideboards, it's kind of weird, right? The card is just overall so good into certain matchups. And also Forerunner, that I run too often in the side, is the same. I really don't want to play Forerunner in the main because I feel like it's super slow. But also, sometimes you just need that big body. And as I mentioned, into removal, you really don't have a way to protect your units through removal. So sometimes your best way to play around removal is just not pay too much power and then drop a big unit that is quote-unquote removal immune, as in like Rin Runner or Ferrous. And so having 2 Forerunner in the sideboards pumped this ratio of big units quote-unquote immune to removal to 5, which is a super decent ratio to see one in the mid game. Whereas with only 3, you can definitely miss on it and not see it during the entire best of 3. So I wanted to have 2 extra options. Ferrous felt decent. And I feel like this is something that you kind of want to swap with the action naturally, because most of the removal decks so far are not running gears, because you can't really fit units, removal, enough of it to have a consistent base of like being able to remove your opponent's body, and gears. And so action, Ferrous, or kind of like natural swaps regarding which matchup you're facing. And then the 3 falling stars are for matchups in which you need to be able to deal with the base, because not being in a battlefield and not being exposed also means you are almost never dealing with the base, exactly as opponents have a tough time doing to you, you have a tough time doing to them. Dealing with their base is super hard in Lucian. So we have to play the 3 falling stars, I believe, in the sideboard. Maybe you have to play some of these in the main board, actually. Maybe 2 of these in the main board. But I opted to play them in the sideboard because, once again, I don't want to pay too much power in the early game. And I don't feel like killing 2 units is enough to give that deck an edge that wins you the game. It slows your opponent down, definitely, but most likely it comes to, like, are they able to contest your Lucian or not? And killing 2 units really does not impact that fact. Like, you can Falling Star, and then if they answer with Falling Star, you most likely lost that game. Or they with Challenge or whatever. So I would probably say Star is just not seeing play in the main board. But in certain matchups, you definitely need it. I'm thinking Mirror, I'm thinking potentially Fiora. Matchups that have a tendency to be able to build a lot in the base, you probably need it. So, yeah, that's about it for the sideboards. In my opinion, Lucian will be the lead that you can get a metal quad on by being an OK player. Yeah, probably. Fundamental-wise, I tried to make this deck as skilled-oriented as I could, with like the triple angle shot, the triple sabotage, the triple longsword, triple relentless. Basically playing every possible toolbox, like every toolbox available, but it's just too weak. It's just too weak. Like, you can't really expect to be able to win all of your games with this deck, especially in 2 removal decks. Now let's talk about the cards that I opted not to play, and there are interesting examples. One of them, you talked about Rinde, if you're still in the chat, I don't know about that. But one of them examples is a combo that I felt like was super giga slow, but we have to talk about. Let me just jump here. In the Skyfall plus Trinity combo. So Skyfall is a gear that gives +2 might, and that reads my old effects are also conquer effects and vice versa. And Trinity reads when I hold, score a point. So basically what this means is if you were able to equip both these gears to a unit, Trinity gives when I conquer, score a point. So you score 2 points on conquering. With a Lucian champion, that restands when it conquers, so could potentially contest 2 battlefields. On paper, it could seem super good. In reality, what it felt like is like it's super expensive. If you find one of the 2 pieces, but not the 2 of them, they are utterly useless. Like, you really don't want to hold, because you don't want to expose your units in a BF, so Trinity is not good. And you really don't have so many good conquer effects aside from Kaisa, and then it would mean Kaisa has to hold to draw a card, so it's not like giga good neither. And then it's still like this is 4 energy, and Skyfall is 3 energy and an energy to equip. So it becomes 4 energy to equip this card. So you have to pay 8 energy to potentially score a point when conquering. If your opponent does not have access to something like Factory Recall, to something like Acceptable Losses, to something like Sabotage, to something like Action, like there are just so many gear removals going around that I don't see this combo realistically ever happening in a real game situation. Which is why I decided not to play it. You could opt to play it if you want to have some sort of fun gig. But from my experience, this is something that's probably close to never going to happen in game. And if it happens, it's going to happen once. Probably win you the game. But then it's just not good enough to be reliable, right? You would have to play 6 copies of, 3 copies of each. Because then you want to have them together as much as possible. If you see one but don't see the other, it's terrible news. So I'd probably not play any rather than play 6 of these cards. Then Veteran Poro, I decided not to play. It's just a Weapon Master turn 1, so on paper it's not like that terrible. The thing is, like, my better Weapon Master is in the Champion Zone. So why would I want to play a worst one that does not give me flexibility, does not have Accelerate, and is not a good option in the mid to late game? I'd rather play several Lucians than Veteran Poros. So there's that for that chord. And then there are chords that I would have really loved to fit in the deck, but I did not find the space to. But maybe you want to fit them in Blood Rush and Cleave. Cleave, you guys know, Blood Rush is on the screen. Basically, these chords are the same, but Blood Rush is like pay 2 for 4, Cleave is pay 1 for 3, whatever. Both of these chords are super good. Being able to pump Kaisa, being able to pump Lucian to high might numbers is pretty good for a pretty cheap amount, and also you don't have to pay a power. The only thing is that, once again, these chords are Assault. And so I feel like I was able to generate enough Assault power if I was to be facing an open unit through like all of my equips, Dirk, Legend ability, even Punch First. So I felt like what I was needing was not like Assault, but more like Toolbox to be able to do something else other than just punching Giga Strong. Which is why I decided not to play any of the two. But I was really like not down to cut any of these. I really tried all of my options before cutting any of these, and then I realized I have to cut this. But I still think they are super good chords, and maybe you need them sometimes to outmight your opponents, and then just retreat your Lucian back to base and do the same next turn. So I would not be too shocked, like too surprised if you tell me like, yeah, test it. And after testing, I ended up cutting like actions and a Lucian, whatever, or a First Mate to play 3 Blood Rush, and they just feel so good. I would not be like super surprised. So that's about it for the chords that I opted not to play. Is there anything else you guys would want to know about them chords and deck on its own, or do we just jump onto one of the other decks of the night? We have 2 more. We have to talk about Draven, and we have to talk about Rumble. So which one are we talking about? Is there any of these you guys would want to talk about now? If not, we are probably talking about Draven because it's first in the list. And also it's getting some traction in China so far. I was about to say Asia, but it's like only China's set to release so far. It's getting traction in Asia, definitely. So you guys don't seem to have an opinion for any of those. So let's just go with Draven. Let me just pull up the PNG. I don't know why I'm clicking on this every time. Well, I should just pull up the PNG here. Here we go. League of Draven. So Draven has been talk of the town this week, especially for being a super giga strong deck in the early events in China. Oh, kitty. It's been one of the topping events, like the better decks from China. It's also got, I believe, 3 out of the 4, 3 places out of the top 4 finish of the Rift Lab tourney, which was no, it was not Rift Lab, it was Rift Decks, my bad. The Rift Decks tourney, which was like a Western thingy with the set 2 formats, and I believe Draven was 1st, 2nd, and 4th, and 3rd was 80. So Draven is super good. There's a small disclaimer that I want to make about this deck before we get into like the actual list, is that it's pretty good, but also we have to be wary about the fact that it's a Nagro deck. Like, it's super aggressive, puts a lot of pressure on the board, has a lot of win conditions in Might, and so this type of deck tend to be super popular and do well in the early formats because they are not too hard to play, and people don't really know how to play against them, and they have a lot of punish power. And also, people really like control decks that are supposed to beat these ones, because they are able to like keep a hold of your board, and then at some point they take over and you can never come back. These decks are often hard to play, or at least harder. And so like people that are playing these right now, like let's say we consider that Stun Azier is a good answer to Draven. I'm not saying it's the case, I'm just saying like potential option for whatever. if we consider that Stun Aesir is a good option to counter Draven, most likely Aesir is pretty odd to play. And so we have to give Aesir players sometimes to refine the lists and to find great answers. And then at some points we are going to see counters pop off. Whereas just like slamming Darius, Kai'Sa, Rengar on the board and attacking is not that hard, right? So this is something we have to consider when we see like aggro decks dominating the early days of it. So let's jump straight into the list and start with the Legend and Champion as we usually do. So the Legend is Glorious Executioner Draven, which is a red-purple legend that reads when you win a combat, draw 1. And to have a proper understanding of the game plan, you have to probably understand what a combat is. And so this is a question that was asked a lot when this code was revealed. A combat is when you engaged in a showdown and there were units from both sides at some point. Which means if I'm conquering a battlefield alone, no combat. If my opponent is conquering a battlefield alone, no combat. But if I attack into a battlefield in which my opponent is standing or my opponent attacks me, then there is combat. And whatever happens next does not change the fact that there's been combat. And so like, if I fight or fly the unit and it goes back to base, there's a showdown, and if I win it, I won combat. If I rebuke a unit back to end, there's a showdown. If I win it, I won combat. And so on and so on. So there's a potential to even draw several cards a turn with this legend. Like let's say your opponent attacks you, but can't really play around something like rebuke. Well, your battlefield is standing strong. You rebuke, you draw a card, and then if they have to attack again and you win combat again, you simply just draw another card. So this is already pretty good. And then the champion that we are playing, there are two of these. The purple one I really don't like, so we're not going to play the purple one, obviously. And anyway, the red one is like kind of broken, so we have to play the red one, in my opinion, at least in the champion zone. Maybe in some like niche matchups, you could bring in the purple one from the side to play it in the champion zone. But most likely, we are seeing red Draven in the champion zone. Red Draven is a 4 energy format unit that reads when I win a combat, you can play a gold gear token exhausted, and when I attack or defend, you may pay a red power, and if you do, give me +2 this turn. So basically, this allows you to generate a lot of gold gear tokens, at least some of them, to not pay too much power in the mid to late game, playing cards like Rebuke, Ferrous Forerunner. Even some guys are running Switcheroo, which I don't like, but you could play in the deck. And then you also have a built-in buff for a power that you can use the gold gear token you just generated to pay for. And then this card is 6 might already, and you can obviously buff it further with a lot of battle tricks. So this champion is super good and is at the core of why I think this deck is like so good in the early days of the format, because this is just like a walking might value machine, and this puts a lot of pressure, definitely. This is the list that I decided to play. Let me just zoom in slightly. Okay, perfect. This is the list that I decided to play, and I'm going to talk about the overall philosophy of the deck, of course, but compared to other decks that were like very dedicated to doing one thing. I'm thinking Fiora wants to make units mighty. Lucian wants to have that like mosquito trick with Assault. Draven is more of an overall good tricks decks, as in like my units are very valuable. I make a lot of card advantage. I make a lot of value off of them. And then I just use all of this value to play cool battle tricks, as in like Flight of Flight, Ride the Winds, Rebuke, stuff like that. And I'm just using this to like gain tempo in the mid game, and then I just close the game because I'm just too good at attacking / defending might wise. So recording the units lineup, let's start with that, and then we're going to go on to spells and potential options. Let me just grab the pen. Obviously it's shut down because the computer goes blue screen, sorry. Here you come, pen. Oh, it actually fixed the taskbar issue. Fine by me, I guess. So we really want to play 8 turn once in Draven because all of these are super important to develop that early game advantage and early game prio. Furthermore, we have the ability to play some pretty good turn ones for the mid to late game, which is something that's really important with Draven too. Is like, since you're drawing a lot, because Legend, because Kaisa, because you're just going to play Angle Shot, all of these cards, Stack Deck also is going to dig. You really want to have cards in your deck that, even if you draw them later on, like, okay, they're a turn one play, but if you draw them later on, they have value. And so that's why I decided to play only 3 Treasure Hunter as a like only turn one play. Treasure Hunter being able to generate gold gear tokens is especially good because we are paying a lot of power in the mid to late game to pay for this, to equip stuff, to pay for the Rebuke, to pay for Rengar, Kaisa, Darius, Forerunner, and Sword. So we are paying quite some power in the mid game, and having some gold gears was not too bad, like felt good. And I'm also running 3 Tide Turners and 2 Gem Jammers. There's something that I don't really get, is why would you play, like, all of the Draven list are running 3 Jammers and 2 Turners, or 3 Turners, but like they are running 3 Jammers. Why would you play Jammer above Turner, while Turner is just, in my opinion, a straight up better chord? This is something that I'm not 100% certain I understand, because I feel like giving ganking is basically, you have your Draven in a BF and you want to abuse the fact that you can cheat out Might, and so you have it there. They don't trade it because it's hard to trade it. It has a lot of value. And when next turn it restands, you give it ganking, you push to the other battlefield, right? Like, that makes a lot of sense. But then Turner is the exact same. Like, if Draven is up in the battlefield, you just play Turner in base, you swap both, and then you push with Draven, and it's the exact same, but you have Turner in the BF. Well, I feel like this is just like straight up better, no? And then like Turner, you can also hide it in a BF. Like, let's say I have a smaller unit or a Kaisa at a BF, I just hide Turner, and then if they attack me, I can just bring the Draven from like the base or the other battlefield straight up to the BF. Like, this has a lot of value, so I don't really see why you would not play Turner. It's obviously a turn one play if you have to. Like, you played vanilla, no effect, it's fine. And then it gets good, like super good actually, in the mid to late game. And it's the same for Jammer, just a tiny bit worse, but not so bad, right? So that's the lineup that I opted to play as in turn ones. There are a few other options as in Merchant and stuff. We could talk about this later on if you guys want to. Thank you so much for the follow, Asperitas. Welcome on, brother. Nice to have you here. Hope you're having a great 24th of December and Merry Christmas. So yeah, this is the lineup that I decided to play as in turn ones. And then regarding the other units, we have the Mono Draven. We could play 3 of these, but I just feel like this Draven is like giga good to set up in the early game, and then Red just has better cores, which is like, this is crazy, right? This Draven is like completely cracked, and here I am saying like Red has better options to play later on in the game. But I really think that's the case. I really believe like there are better cores to play aside from this Draven in the mid game. And this is the lineup of units that I decided to play for them situations. First one is Rengar. Obviously, Rengar costs a power as a 3/3 unit, so could feel bad, but Rengar is a reaction unit that you can play in a BF you are attacking. So it's a super good unit to win combat. Basically, in this deck, Rengar reads ASO2, play me in a BF you're attacking, and draw 1 because of the legend ability. Like, you're using it to win combats. So I really love that card. I really think it's super good. It puts a lot of pressure also if you are able to play it in the base on a turn in which like you have like 6 runes, you don't want to play Kaisa, you don't want to play Darius, you already have the hold of the BF with like Draven. You can just like play Rengar and then have like 3 runes open for battle tricks. And this is like super scary because next turn they know you have a giga big swing with the Rengar, so they have to care about it. Kaisa and Darius, do I really need to talk about these? Like, these are extraordinary cards. All of them benefit a lot from the equips being in the deck, because then if you've developed an equip already, or if you have the runes to play an equip, let's say you have 7 runes, Darius plus Spinning Axe is a 10 might swing, which is like super scary, right? So all of them benefit a lot from having all them equips going around. The idea with this deck is that you want to value your equips through not only like your units and also angle shot. Once again, I really think angle shot is one of the most underrated cards of the set. I really think it's a super good toolbox, and being able to use these cards with the angle shot makes a lot of sense, as in drawing cards, gaining resources, not paying power, and also being able to deal with your opponent's board. I'm going to talk about that like just right after. And then I'm also running 2 Ferrous. I feel like there are matchups in which your opponent is going to try and avoid engaging in combat, and Ferrous is going to punish them for that. Because if they avoid engaging in combat and let you ramp runes, which like they can't really trade ruthlessly, because if they do so, you just have access to so many battle tricks that you could like just outplay them and win the game off of it. So they have to take like a lot of steps, like trying to check your hands, trying to check your buff, trying to force a few cards out of your hands. And if they do that and they take too much time, then you can just drop something like a Forerunner in a BF, and all of a sudden it becomes super hard for them to trade it, being through spells or combat. And even if they manage to do so, next turn you just have 3 might tokens in base, ready to push and win combat again. Because like if they trade in Forerunner, they are most likely standing in the BF, and so you can just trade back with the tokens. So it felt like Forerunner was too good not to run. Maybe in some control matchups you even want to run 3 of these in the sideboards. Also, it feels like a pretty good answer to the Victor list that we've seen going around, like the Giga Control Victor with like only 6 or 5 units and spells in there. Forerunner is a pretty good answer, because then like if they kill the Forerunner, you just have the tokens and they can't kill everything in the same turn. So you have a lot of potential to push and then develop, and then like they are swarmed already. So this was my lineup of units. This feels pretty good. And all of these basically, I wanted to be like able to be super proactive. Forerunner is a bit less proactive, but it helps you have a better win condition into some matchups when you get ahead in the very early game. And then you are a deck that needs combat. So you really want to be able to gank, to be able to like pseudo gank, to be able to accelerate, ruthlessly force your opponent on trade, punish them. Like the second they have 0 runes open, you know you're playing a card, winning a combat, and drawing 1 this turn. That's what I wanted to have with this deck, very high pressure. And this is probably the deck that I'm going to bring to my next locals to try and play it, see how it feels, and if it's actually like giga good, or if it's just because it's early days of the format. But yeah, I really feel like this deck has a lot of potential. Then if we go into toolboxes, tricks, however you want to call them, let's start with tricks. So combat tricks, we have the Blood Rush. Blood Rush is such an insane card in this deck because it allows you to pump Kaisa, it allows you to pump Darius. So having like 6 runes open or 7 runes open all of a sudden allows you to spawn something like a 10 might accelerate unit that draws cards, and like that is giga scary. Also, it allows you to protect the Draven, to value ganking and stuff. So I really like that Blood Rush card. I think it's slightly better cleave, because most of the time when you're cleaving, +2 would be enough. Or then if you need bigger cleave, you get to +4, and that has value. But yeah, it's most of the time if you want to play something like cleave, it's to go over something that you trade that's most likely mirror or something like that. As in like Kaisa. If you trade Kaisa or into any or into Draven, you need that cleave to go above Kaisa with your own Kaisa. But like +1, +2, +3 does not really matter, right? +1 could matter because of Stupefy, but once you get to +2, it's like good enough. Does not really matter. Same with Darius. Blah, 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 blah. Then Angle Shot, I talked about it already. Angle Shot, I feel like, is giga cracked in this deck. This allows you to move Spinning Axe around without losing it, because Spinning Axe has temporary. So Spinning Axe is 2 energy and a power quick draw. So you pay 2 energy power, you equip it instantly from hand. But then it has temporary. So if it's not equipped at the beginning of your turn, it dies. Angle Shot allows you to dodge that counterpart, equipping to another unit so that it never gets to proc that temporary keyword. Also, it allows you to move around the longsword if you don't hit the axe. That's why I decided to play 5 gears, because I really wanted to be able to hit at least 1 gear in the mid game to have that angle shot be a tool to be proactive and not only like on the defensive end of things. But it's also pretty good defensively because you can use it to remove a GA, you can use it to remove a gear that's meaning problems for your deck, and then kill some sort of tower that they managed to establish. For instance, into Ornn, angle shot feels like a super good card because you can just like remove the Guardian Angel, equip it to a shit unit they have, and then you just kill the Ornn, kill the shit unit, and then the GA procs on the shit unit, and you got everything out of that trait. And you draw. So what reason would there be not to play angle shot? Such a good card. X and Longsword, I talked about it already. Longsword is basically worst X, which is why I play 3 X and 2 swords. Sword is quick draw +2 and X is quick draw +3. So, I mean, I'd rather play Axe, and I really wanted 5 gears equipped, in the deck. Then we have all of the purple cracked battle tricks, Ride the Wind, Fight or Flight, and Rebuke. The idea is that you want your opponent to commit into your boards with like super big bodies, because if they don't do so, and let's say you have a Draven and like 2 runes open, you could very well see that Draven go to like 6 because they pay power, and then they use spinning, and the Draven is 9. And 9 is a big amount of might for like 6 runes on the board. So you really have to go in there with big bodies, which is when Fight or Flight and or Rebuke come in to punish them, because like you just either remove that big unit, or if it's a 2 units attack, you just like remove one of them, the other one dies, and like they get punished super hard. So these cards are super good. Also, as I mentioned it before, Fight or Flight and Rebuke do proc the combat thingy. If you enter a battlefield with a treasure hunter, there's an opponent there, you start combat, and then you use Fight or Flight to move the opponent out of the way, you won combat, you draw a card. This is how this works. Your popcorn. How you doing, brother? So like all of these cards synergize super well with the legend ability. And then Ride the Wind is just like more combat rights. Allows you to value X, allows you to value Blood Rush. You have a unit in base, let's say Kaisa that you developed. You can just go like Blood Rush on Kaisa, she's 8 might, conquer a BF, draw, Ride the Wind, conquer the other one, draw, move Kaisa back to base, and next turn we can do the same again. So this is just a super good overall card. Also allows you to rush in some games, as in like you have the BF and you have 2 runes open, they enter the other BF to contest, you use Ride, you get in there to defend, and you proc the Draven. You can have scenarios in which like you have super power hungry plays, but super valuable score wise. So there's definitely room to value that card in a lot of situations. And Rebuke and Fight or Flight, I talked about it already. Last card in this list that I did not talk about is Stack Deck. I feel like Stack Deck is just a very good card in purple overall. You really want to see that in most of your lists to bump the consistency. It's either Stack Deck or Cold Shot or both, I feel like. But Draven felt power angry enough so that I did not want to play Cold Shot, so I decided to play Stack Deck instead. And just like make sure I would see my 5 equips, or at least one of them. Make sure I would see my Gang Kings when I need them, my Titaners, my Gem Jammers, my Ride the Winds. Make sure in the most control matchups I would see the Forerunner when I need it. And also it's a good tool to restand Darius, which is not to be underestimated. We have a lot of tools in this deck to restand Darius. We have 1 energy Cold Rush, 1 energy Blood Rush, 1 energy Stack Deck, 2 energy Angle Shot, 2 energy X, 2 energy Swords. We have a lot of tools to restand Darius in that deck and value it. So I really love it. Overall this deck feels pretty good, and that's probably what I'm playing at the next locals. And we'll see if this performs super well or if there's tough situations. And this deck is not like Giga Tier 0 as some people are saying it, or like right now. Regarding the BFs, this deck is good enough to not need to draw cards through BFs, because you have a lot of draw powers included in there. So I decided to play more of like a defensive quote-unquote lineup, or utility lineup if you will, of BF. The only going first battlefield that I play as a like draw power is Grove, because once you get the Draven in Grove, it's very hard to contest. So it can make you it can get you a lot of value, and also Grove is about that like psychological pressure of like, I'm in Grove, you have to come contest me, else I'm going to draw infinite. And so it's kind of like they have to come contest you faster than they would want to. Which is why I decided to play Grove. It's not so much for the draw power, even though it's good. But it's more for the part of like, you have to come contest me, and then you're going to come crashing into Draven, and then guess what's going to happen? You will be met with them rebukes, with them fight or flights, with them ride the winds. And I'm going to make a lot of value out of it. So this is my going first battlefields. This is my game 1 battlefields. River's Row. This is definitely a battlefield that I love, because this allows me to protect my Kaisas, to protect my Dariuses, to protect my Rengors. And then if you want to come and swing spells at my board, which you can definitely do, you have to be ready to swing a lot of them, because I have the Forerunner in the deck. And if I dig for it and if I find it, your spell deck is going to crumble, because you can't really clear both Forerunner and the tokens in the same turn. So I really think like River's Row is needed in this deck. It's giga good and super hard to deal with for the opponents. And then going second, I play Hordes, and that there's an interaction that I find really funny with that. I posted a sick new Jinx build in Discord I'm taking to Nexus Knight. Hope you will see success then. Glad for you that you found a list that you love, Popcorn. Hoping you will see success in them Nexus Knights. Hordes, why I like Hordes in this deck. So Hordes is when you conquer here, you can tap an energy and generate a gold gear. Usually, battlefields that have when you conquer as a condition, you avoid going second, because you don't really want to give your opponent the opportunity to conquer this one first and trigger it. Same for Targon's Peak and a lot of them. What I love about Hordes going second in this deck is that I'm saying, okay, get in there, conquer, but just know that next turn, my turn 1, might very well come in with a Blood Rush and a Longsword in there and win combat, and then I will get to make a token and I will get to draw a card. So are you certain you want to give me that value? And if not, you might as well not go in the Horde, because next turn I'm getting in there. And so this is kind of a pressure of like, do they tribute a unit, give you a free token and a draw? Or do they just give you the free token and they decide to go for their very own battlefield, and then you adapt depending on what the battlefield is? So I don't hate this idea of playing Hordes going second. Whereas playing Targon could seem good, but I would probably have had a tougher time valuing it, because then if they conquer and they have 2 runes open, they could use them 2 runes to trade back at my turn 1, use something like Fight or Flight, and then I wasted a bunch of cards for no reason. So this is probably the lineup that I want to play, and I really do enjoy it. I feel like this is so much utility. And also Draven, once again, is pretty power angry, so being able to use Hordes and not pay so much power feels kinda good most of the time. And then quick sideboard discussion. I feel like you have to run Thermal Beams if you're playing red these days because of set 2 format. The good thing is in this deck we have Angle Shot, which is a pseudo answer to Gears. Like, it's not a perfect answer, but it is sometimes enough to answer Gears deck and good enough to be main deckable. And then we have Stack Deck to dig for the cards we really need. So we don't need to run 3 Thermal Beams and see 2 of them in the opening and then want to die. So this is a cool thing. Also, this opens up a spot for Rebuke in the sideboard. The third one for big bodies matchups, Yi, potentially Fiora, potentially Mirror. Like, there are a lot of matchups in which we want to bring in the Rebuke. Falling Star is to help us control some of them early game matchups. Some matchups are able to put a lot of stuff in the base that we might have a hard time dealing with because we are a combat deck. We have 0 cards to deal with the base actually. In this list, we want to deal with them when they come fighting, but if they have several like bothersome cards, having access to Falling Star is good. I'm thinking some stuff like Lucian. If they just go in and out, in and out, in and out, and we don't find the actions or they sabotage them away, we are rather happy to see something like a Falling Star. But there are also some other decks that we want to put Falling Star in the deck for. And then, might seem weird, but I'm playing Overzealous in the sideboards. The idea for Overzealous, maybe some of you guys don't know what Overzealous does though. Overzealous is a turn 1 drop that reads, it's a 2/2 drop that reads, when I defend, you may kill me to move an attacking unit to its base. And so, the idea with running this chord in the sideboard specifically is that I want to bring it in going first, so that one, I have better turn 1 counts for going first. I swap it with the Rangors to give you a clear explanation on the plan. I swap it with the Rangors. I have a better turn 1 lineup, so I'm almost guaranteed to find a turn 1 through deep mulliganing. So that way I can start pushing pressure very early in the game because of all of my turn 1s. And also I can keep the ganking ones for later on because I'm going to be in the lead. So I'm most likely going to be holding, and so ganking has a lot of value. And also this allows me to, if I'm holding and I really want to hold, especially in the Grove, I can drop like the red Draven and then another Zealous on top. And since I'm in the lead scoring wise, I don't need to move out of it. And if you come and challenge me, I have a few runes open to play a spell, and I have other Zealous to push you back. And so you basically can never trade me, except if you use a spell to kill Zealous, which is what I want, because then you don't kill the Cases, you don't kill Dariuses, you don't kill the Dravens. So this is the siding pattern that I opting for. Most people are playing Zealous in the main, which I can see, right? If they attack you, you just kill it, and then you win combat and you draw a card. The only thing is that playing from behind, I'd rather have a ganking tool, like lineup, to be able to score 2 points in the same turn and like get ahead scoring wise than having Zealous in the main. So I'd rather play Zealous in the side, I feel like, but it's definitely a good chord and a chord you can consider in Draven. So that's about it for the deck theory. There's a few chords that I want to talk about, as in I decided not to play this. But if you guys have any questions regarding the list or the game plan or some chords, feel free. It's time now. So regarding chords that I decided not to play, Overzealous I talked about already. You could play it in the main, but I decided not to. A chord that we did see pop off in some lists and got success, as in is it the Draven take chords, is Tryndamere. Oh yeah, it's a set 1 chord. I'm dumby. So Tryndamere is a 7 energy, 8 might unit that costs 2 power and reads when I conquer after an attack. If you assign 5 or more excess damage to enemy units, to score a point. I feel like this card is super slow. They can play around it, sort of. If I wanted to play a cheat, a point card, I would probably play Purple Draven instead. But I feel like this deck does not need all that bullshit. It's just like so good at printing value and might on the board that I'd rather not play some bullshit and just play like good chords, actual good chords, and not try to scam my opponent out of a win. And I feel like Tryndamere is kind of like gimmicky bullshit that's never going to make it out of like the gimmick ports of the chords. And then the last chords that some play, and I don't hate, is Edge of Night. So it's a hidden gear that you can hide for a power or play for 3 energy, and that gives +2 to your units. Once again, I really wanted to have 5 gears in the list to be able to value angle shot the best I could, and also to be able to have at least 1 rotating on the boards every turn. But the thing is, like, these gears have quick draw, so if you're defending, you can use them to play them from the end and defend with them. And if you're attacking, you can also play them from the end and equip them instantly and push with them. Whereas this Edge of Night is only good when you're in the lead. So I'd rather play chords that allow me to be proactive than chords that want me to have a hold and then pay a power to hide, and then they do the exact same as Longsword or Axe, but I don't have to pay the energy. I'd rather have like slightly more expensive chords, but that allow me to have a better spot in both situations, which is why I decided to play this 5 and not Edge of Night. But if you're running a full-on equipped Draven list, which I don't think is like so good, but if you want to, you could probably play Edge of Night. That chord is not like terrible. It's just not like as good as Longsword and Spinning Axe, in my opinion. And that's about it for the Draven talk. Thank you for the follow, Max got the tracks. Thank you so much, brother. Welcome home. Hope you're having a great 24th of December and Merry Christmas. If you're good to go with the Draven list and you don't have extra questions, we can jump to the Rumble list, and then we have a bit less than an hour to put in a bit of games if we want to on TCG Arena or Depending on how long Rumble takes, I might just cut the stream because I also need to edit the videos to post for tomorrow and stuff. So let's jump straight into Rumble if you guys don't have extra questions. Also, by the way, if some of you just landed, if you like competitive rebound content, guides, third execution, code analysis stuff, feel free to drop a follow. Completely free, just send you a notification when I stream. And yeah, that's what we do here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Paris time. Thank you so much for the follow, Soft Jack. And we just reached the 2,000 followers threshold, by the way. I did not notice it, but we just reached the 2,000 followers threshold. Thank you so much, guys, for the support. It's a very cool Christmas gift, not gonna lie. It's a very, very, very cool Christmas gift, not gonna lie. Thank you so much, guys, for the supports. So Rumble. Let's just jump. Let me just get a sip of water, actually, so I don't die, and then we can talk about Rumble. Let me pull up the PNG, and then let's start with the Legends and Champion talk. Here we are. So Rumble is interesting to me because it's probably the Legend I have the less concrete expectations for and the less testing with, but also I can kind of see how it works, and I can kind of see what the hype is all about. Not sure I would want to put this in S tier as some people are doing, but I definitely see some of the potential this has, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So Rumble, let's start with the Legends and Champions first. Rumble Mechanized Menace is a red-blue legend. Brings good old memories to the table, right? Kaisa days. That gives your mechs shields. So +1 when they're defending. This ability is giga shit. Let's be real. This ability is like super not good. The only thing that makes Rumble good is everything that's around it. Because somehow they managed to make good enough chords for Rumble to become decent, which is something that I was not expecting, right? But like Rumble is somehow decent because of everything that's surrounding the mech archetype, the mech family, if you will. And so there are so many good chords in that family that you kinda want to give Rumble a shot. I'm not certain it's going to be S tier. Tog said it would be S tier, but I feel like it's not as bad as we expected it to be for sure. And then the Champion, there are two of them. Both seem kinda playable. One of them is obviously better. It's the red one. This is the one I decided to play. But let's talk about the blue one, because you could definitely want to play the blue one. The blue one is a 5 energy, 1 power unit that has 4 might, and that reads when I hold your mechs, when I hold, you may play a 3 might mech token in the base, and your mechs have +1. So this is a 5/5 unit because it gives your mechs +1, but it also buffs all of your other mechs, and it has the when I hold play a token. So basically it's like super good when you're playing from ahead, not so good when playing from behind, which is why I decided to play the red one instead. And also the power cost was not to my liking. But when you're ahead and you drop this, it's kind of green area, right? It's as in you close the game when you drop it, which probably makes sense. So I could see 3 red Rumbles in the main deck and then 1 blue in the Champion Zone. But I'd rather play red Rumble in the Champion Zone too, because I feel like this unit is just so good that I want to play 3 of them and have this accessible at any time in the Champion Zone. So red Rumble is a 4 energy, 4 might unit that gives each of your mechs Assault 1. And then reads when I conquer, you may recycle another friendly unit to play a mech from your trash and reduce its energy cost by the might of the unit you recycled. So basically what this means is that you can recycle like tokens and stuff to play actual mechs from your trash. This is a pretty cool mechanic, right? Also the assault port allows you to play from behind, and this does not have a power cost. So this is just an overall giga good unit, sort of a 4/5 unit if you attack with it. And then if they let you conquer, you just make so much value out of it. It's crazy. So yeah, I really love that red Rumble. I really think it's a good chord. And that's why I decided to run one of in the champion zone, and then 2 off in the main deck, because I feel like having multiples of this is never going to feel bad. Also, kinda combines perfectly with the legend, because the legend gives shield, but to have shield you need to be able to conquer, and this helps you conquer. So like, this makes a lot of sense to have this, whereas I feel like if you want to play Blue Rumble in the champion zone, you have to be able to conquer on your own, sort of, like without the legend and without the champion, and then when you conquer and you have the battlefields, you can develop something. But I feel like Red Rumble is working better with your legend ability. And then, regarding the rest of the deck, let's start with the mechs lineup, because we are playing a lot of them mechs. The first one is Gem Jammer. You guys know Gem Jammer already. Gives ganking 2 unit. We've been talking about it for like most of the red decks, because it's a good mid-game core that you can drop as a turn 1 play vanilla and it's fine. Gem Jammer happens to be a mech, so it gets the shield ability, it gets the assault from the Red Rumble, all of this, which we like. It's not one you want to drop in the very early game, but if you have to, it's fine to do so, which is why we're running 3 compared to other decks like Draven and stuff, in which I only want to run 2 because I really don't want to drop it in the very early game. And then we have Forecaster as a turn 1 play 2. This one is way better. This one gives your mechs vision. So this makes it so that whenever you play a mech, you can check the top card of the deck, and if you don't like it, you can put it at the bottom. Pretty good. Allows you to cycle your deck, allows you to access your needed cards. Of course, it's just like sort of a bonus. It's going to die rather fast, and then like it does not give you value when it's dead. But it's not so bad, and you really want to have this as a turn 1. And then to fulfill the turn 1 lineup, the 8 usual turn 1s lineup, I decided to play the Plundering Poro as a 2 off, because this deck has to pay some power, especially in the mid game, to be able to keep hold of the battlefield, and then the big bodies are coming in to clutch the game and close it. So it's not a mech, but I feel like we still need to have some of them turn 1s. And also this allows us to have a turn 1 play, be it going first or going second if we don't see a mech, so that we can push this in the battlefield, create a gold token, and then play a mech on top of it, and this mech already has shield because it's in the battlefield. So it's pseudo accelerate for a mech in a way, having a turn 1. Any turn 1 does the same, so this one just has a cool effect. Unfortunately, it's not a mech, but it's not that bad. Like, you really need to have a turn 1 play in a deck in which you need to defend to be a valid strategy. Then I'm going to talk about the Blast Config later on, but you guys, if you guys have been following the stream for quite some time, you guys know that I'm a big Blast Config follower. So I really love that card. I really believe it's good in a lot of situations when your deck can value it, and so we're going to talk about that later on. But regarding the mechs, we have 2 or 3 rather mid-game mechs. Rumble, we talked about it already. You drop it when you can. It's always going to be good. It puts pressure on the opponent if they let you conquer. You can spawn a lot of stuff from the trash, so it's just another good unit. And then we have the 2 utility mechs. The Bubble Bot, which is first mate but for a mech, which is when you play me, ready another friendly mech. Simple as that. It's literally first mate but for mechs. And then we have Dangerous Duo, which is Legion. When you play me, give a unit +2, and it is also a mech. And so we can use that to push into BFs. Like, let's say we want to play this on Red Rumble in the mid game, and then Red Rumble is a 7 might unit because it has Assault 1 plus the +2 from the duo. It allows us to do cool stuff, and it's a mech, so why would we not play it? It's also a good mid game card. And then for the top end stuff, we have 3 cards that I like 2 of them, and one of them I kind of don't want to play, but I also felt like I needed it to value some part of the strategy. The 2 ones that I like the most are the Watcher and the Forerunner. So obviously Watcher is not a giga good card in the deck because it's not a mech, but aside from that, it's just an overall staple that allows you to play way better when you're behind or when you need to contest battlefields. It's super easy in Rumble to like stack in a BF to infinity and they can never contest it. But then if you are behind because like you played second and you don't have the points lead, you need to find a way to regain it somehow, and Watcher helps a lot in that regards. And Forerunner is just completely cracked in this deck. Like Forerunner is a 7 might defending unit that spawns 2 3 might token that can have assault 1 each of them. So basically can spawn 8 might because of Red Rumble or 8 might defensively because of shield from the legend. So like Forerunner in this deck, you have to run 3 off. It's completely cracked. And also fun thing is that once you see a Forerunner, which like you play 3 off and you have like the vision stuff, you have the consults, you have the production sure, so like there's a good shot that you see one of these. You can just perma replay it because of the Red Rumble. Like you detag Red Rumble, you put it in the base, and then you conquer. Once your Forerunner is dead, you just conquer with the Red Rumble that has assault, and then you recycle whatever mid-game unit you have, like let's say the Dangerous Dew or something like that. And then for 3, you can just replay a Forerunner, and you can just do this like basically infinitely. And you can even use the tokens if you want to replay the runner. Like you can just bottom a token, recycle a token, and then like you reduce its cost by 3, and it's a 3 energy 1 power unit. So like this is completely cracked. Obviously, this deck is like cycling Forerunner forever, and it's so cracked. And then the last chords that I don't like, but I kind of feel is sort of a Fox going second chords being a mech, is Breakneck Mech. So Breakneck Mech is an 8 energy and 2 power chord that has 7 might, and that gives your mechs deflect and ganking. So basically the idea is that this chord going second helps you, like you set up a battlefield, you play there, and then at some point you just go like Breakneck in base, and then you just like gank with everything and you take over the point state, and then from that point onwards that game is over. So this is kind of a pseudo Fox. The thing is, it's more expensive than Fox, but it's a mech. So I kind of wanted to have a bit of both. Also, Fox is better when you are not, like when you can't develop a board. Breakneck needs to have a board to work. But then once you have a board, giving it deflect is also kind of good. So I wanted to have a bit of both options, which is why I decided to end up playing 2 Fox and 2 Breaknecks instead of 3 of one or 3 of the other. And also this lineup allows us to play some funny stuff in the Battle Tricks area, because we can play the Sky Splitter, which is an action that has its cost reduced by the highest might on the board, on our board. So let's say we have a 7 might Breakneck or a 6 might Forerunner. This is only 2 energy, and then this is an action. So this gets even better if we are playing into assault and stuff. Like let's say we are using Breakneck to attack something and we have Red Rumble on the board, or we are playing like defensively and they are attacking us and we have the shield on the Breakneck. Then this card is like free. We just have to pay a power and we can deal 5 damage for free. So Sky Splitter is like super good in this deck, super cheap battle trick. And then I'm also playing the 2 Get Excited, which is, I kind of wanted to play 3 at first, but I also don't want to open one, and it's kind of hard to the end if you have to play several of these in the game, because you have to play this plus discard a chord to make it variable. But Get Excited is like discard a chord and deal its energy cost to a unit at a battlefield. And so you can use Get Excited to discard something like Breakneck, to discard something like Forerunner, and just like deal 6, deal 8 for 2 energy. So it's like a super cheap big removal, and then you can bring them back from the trash through Red Rumble. So this is the idea. It's like I'm using Get Excited, discarding Forerunner, killing something, conquering with Red Rumble in the battlefield maybe that I just cleared through Get Excited, and then paying 3 energy to play the Forerunner from the trash. And then like it's super fine. It's not like I lost a lot of value because I played the card that I discarded from my hand. So it's just as is. I just used Get Excited and that's about it. So yeah, I really do like that idea of being able to play big top end quote unquote spells that you can use your top end to value and make them really cheap. And then that does not leave us with a lot of space in the deck, because the mech lineup has to be pretty big for this deck to function properly. And then the spells and toolbox already take some space. So I wanted to have a bit more battle tricks, and I wanted to have a bit more of draw power, which is why I did this tiny hidden package that some of you all probably know I was running in Airy at some point before Kaisa started playing 2 lanes in the main. In the Blast Confi and the Consults, this deck is usually pretty energy expensive. Like, you have to play quote-unquote on curve, and you want to drop a lot of bodies, because the more bodies you drop, the better it is. And so being able to just pay a power to generate some value as its perks, and definitely is needed. Blastcone helps you in holding too, so it gives you a lot of value of like the Grove. Also kinda combines with the Get Excited and the Sky Splitters. If you want to kill something like a Fox, you can just like use Blastcone and then use Splitter and you kill it, because it's -2 might and then Splitter kills it. So there's a lot of cool interactions on top of being a great card at holding. And then Console the Past is just like a bit of draw power, because this deck does not have so much draw power, which in some games is fixed by the Red Rumble playing from trash. But in some games you need to see them cards first to be able to replay them then. And so you want to draw them, and Consult is here to help. And the last card that we did not talk about is the Production Surge, which is a pretty crazy spell too, especially in Rumble. So let's just go and read Production Surge. Production Surge. It's a 4 energy and a power spell, but if you control a mech, it's only a 2 energy and a power spell. That spawns a 3 might mech token in the base and draws a card. So for 2 energy and a power, you play a 3 might unit and you draw a card. This is like giga valuable, obviously. And this allows you to set up for your Red Rumbles plays and shenanigans. This allows you to have just like an extra mech on board and to cycle your deck a bit and get in that draw power ports that you sometimes miss. So this card is a mandatory tree off in my opinion. The power is a bit expensive, but I mean, you can play it with the gold from the Poro, or you can just be fine with playing it, and it's okay. Your early curve does not require you to pay a lot of power. So on like 2, 4, 6, or maybe like just 2, 4, you're most likely not paying a power. So then if on 6 you're dropping Runner, you're fine. Or if you're dropping like Surge plus another Rumble, it's fine to pay power. And the last card that we did not talk about is Danger Zone. Danger Zone is a bad card, don't get me wrong. I don't like that card on its own, but just in this deck it makes a lot of sense. So Danger Zone is 1 energy and a power reaction spell, signature for Rumble actually, that you can repeat, and you give your mechs +1 this turn. Basically the point of this deck is like you get to stack a BF, and at some point this BF is big enough so that they can never retake it, and then you give ganking and you go to the other BF, or you just stay in there and you win the game off of it. And so that strategy of like stacking mechs on top of mechs makes it so that Danger Zone becomes somewhat valuable, which is why I kind of felt like I wanted to play 3 of that card, even if I don't like it. It's more of a late game shenanigan, as in like I will have like 4 mechs in there, and then like giving +8 to your board for like 2 energy and 2 power becomes somehow crazy. Which is why I kind of feel like we need to play 3, maybe just 2, because we don't really want to use it in the early game. But it's not such a bad card, in my opinion. Then regarding battlefields, well, there's a few things we have to talk about regarding this lineup. This is going second, this is going first, and this is game 1. Don't want to, I've already talked about like the Forgotten Monument, but don't want to crumble into aggro matchups, especially into purple ones. So we have to play the Monument to slow the game down a bit, but there are potentially other options that we would want to play in that Monument spot. It's just a good vanilla one so far, in my opinion, but maybe there's some other stuff that we would want to play in the game 1 spot. Going first Grove makes a lot of sense, because not only are our turn 1s better than our opponent turn 1s going first, because they conquered and they have shield, so they are 3 might turn 1s that they need a buff to contest. And the longer the game goes on, the more we are going to be able to stack in that Grove, because we are in the lead points wise. So we don't need to care about the other battlefield, we just need to stack in there. Which is why I feel like Grove is a pretty good game for going first battlefield for this deck. And then going second, I play Minefield. Minefield maybe we have to talk about. It's just a super cool consistency battlefield for this deck. Minefield is, when you conquer here, you put the top 2 cards of your main deck into your trash. This combines really well with like the vision mech, first of all. And then like the fact that you are able to mill your deck and to put some of them mechs in the trash allows you to replay them with the Red Rumble, which I really love. Like, once again, this is some sort of consistency that your opponents are never going to be able to make value of, but you are making a lot of value off of it. And if you can't draw into like Ferrous Forerunner, you can mill it and then replay it from the trash with Red Rumble, which just makes a lot of sense. So I really love that Minefield tech. I really like the idea of like having a battlefield like that brings consistency to your deck that only you can use, and that's why I decided to run the Minefield in the third battlefield spot. And then we have the Thermal Beam as a tree of. This deck plays 0 gears exactly. We don't play the quick draw gear longswords. We don't play the Cloth Armor or stuff. We could end up playing these, but in my build, I decided not to play any. So like Thermal Beam as a 3-off to counter Gears decks makes a lot of sense. And then Brynir is to be able to push into orange. Brynir is actually super interesting. Brynir is like, when I play these cards, your opponent can't play cards for the rest of this turn. And this color combination, blue-red, lacks ways to deal with cards like Punch First. If they have the points lead and they have 1 rune open, even if you have like 6 runes open, you might very well not be able to contest an entire battlefield through Punch First if you don't see like a clear spell, as in like Sky Splitter or Get Excited or stuff like that. So we really needed to have some sort of a more consistent out. And since we can't play cards like Sabotage, we can't play cards like Windwall, Brynir comes up as an option that is sadly not a mech, but still you can play Brynir during your turn, and then you know they can't play any cards anymore, and then you can attack with the Red Rumble, and make sure you kill the body in there, and make sure you can play from your trash. So, Brynir turns out to be a not perfect solution, but it's better to have a not perfect solution than no solution, basically. And then Unchecked is just here for the mirror and for the holding matchups, because you don't want them to be able to hold. So you just play Unchecked to clear all of the MBF. And once again, we are kind of missing on that removal side with this list. Obviously, blue and red can definitely play a lot of removal in like Singularity, Falling Star and stuff, but I did not want to take that approach for this list, because I feel like if we want to play Removal Rumble, we might as well play Kaise. So I wanted it to have its unique touch. And so I decided to not play so much removal, which is why I feel like Unchecked Power coming in from the sideboard can clutch certain holding matchups, especially going second, which is why it's there. So that's about it for the Rumble lists. I just talked about not playing too much removal, which was the only thing that I had wrote down for like cards that I opted not to play, because I feel like the rest of it just makes sense since we want to play mechs. A lot of the deck is going to be mechs, right? So is there any cards that you guys want to talk about regarding like not playing or potential tech options for Rumble, stuff that I would have missed or something like that? And if not, how about we jump in TCG Arena to have some kind of like gameplay with one of these decks? Maybe we can have gameplay with like the Draven deck, or with the Rumble deck. Let's have gameplay with the Rumble deck, right? We just talked about Rumble, so how about we jump into TCG Arena to try and see if the theory behind the build ends up performing or not. Music is like giga low, no? Oh yeah, it's only my headset, it's fine. Let me just edit. Trying my Rumble builds for set 2. Builds, not build. Here we go. If we jump into TCG Arena, does any of you want to have a game, or are we just pairing into a random opponent? Which could be fine too, because then they just don't know what we are playing there. I need to import the deck though, I don't have it yet. Get me out. Decks. Where we at? Here. Get ready to rumble. Export as text. Copy and then create rumble. Create. Import. Import and add. Save. Perfect. We have the rumble deck. If no one wants to play, we can just find a random opponent though, and it's fine. I guess we'll just go for that anyway, and we'll just have a cool game. Find a random opponent. We found one. Set to fine. Ah. I was hoping for some set to you down. Let's see. Set 1. Nope. I only have set 1. Okay. Sorry then. Oh. Can't do that. Okay, so let's start a new game. Oh no, let's roll the dice before. 24. Huh. Huh. He gets to decide. At least it makes up for the disadvantage. Classic. Starts. Rumble. Yep. Oh, I need to put this to the side. Else I'm not going to be able to see what's happening on this side of the board. Because of the lights. Yep. Let's go. I have to pick the BF though. It's that one. Remove. Visible by all. You starts. Okay, see. It's holding E. It's probably not a super good matchup though, but we'll have to see how this goes. I could probably make it a bit prettier for you guys doing that, right? Yeah, I guess it's better. I start. Okay, I start. So let's mulligan. So what do we want into Yi when we are starting? Interesting questions. We are going to be playing that 2-4-6 curve. So we definitely want to mulligan for a turn 1. I guess this is going. This we probably want to keep there. And this we can play from the champion zone. So let's just go for that. Draw. Huh, jammer. Better than nothing. You good? I should just have the emotes. Let's go. So, channel, draw. Okay, get excited. It's just tap 2, jammer in base, and pass. Tap 3, mate, center. Good. Alrighty, sig again. Okay, so we can't score here, so let's not get in there. Let's get in the climb first. Is that good? I guess it is. I score, and then let's just tap 4 and develop rumble in base. And if it's good, let's just pass. Alrighty, Kiana, what's 4 runes? Catalyst. So we are going to be met with an early Aurora, I guess. And 2 is going to be immobilized. Okay, they have the ramp of them ramps though. They have the ramp of them ramps. Yeah, you can ramp. It's fine. Score the hold. It's the 3rd turn, so we could technically conquer. And then drop the runner. And then we have 12 might and they can fight? I mean, can they? Is the question. Let's just get in there. Get to 3. And then put this back to base. And then we want to tap 6 most likely. Recycle this and play runner in there. And then if they come at us with like Dead Bloom, we have a lot of time before it becomes effective. And we have the shield too. So I feel like I'm fine with that. Let's just pass. Because now it's Aurora, right? Oh, it's Mountain from Ant. They pay 1 to... they paid 1 extra rune now. You have to open, my friends. Not that it matters, maybe, but... Okay, so it's no Aurora on curve with all of the ramp. So aren't we like... This one is attacking with 10. Aren't we like giga stacking a battlefield? Because then what could they do? Thinking. Because we could go runner. So this is like 12. Then this becomes 14 and we have a lot of tokens to push back. So I think we want to retreat that rumble. Then go runner. So 6 again. Recycle. And then if the runner dies, we have access to rumble conquering next turn. So we want to go there with the jammer to be on curve from like this. Thanks. And then probably we want to pass, right? We don't want to hide this. Yeah, we just want to pass. Now we are on like that 2 points a turn range of winning of aspirants. Yup, this is dead. It's fine. Charm. I'm definitely giving them the runner here. Yep. Go for it. Yo, Niemens. You managed to get Bologna tickets? I'm most likely casting Bologna. So I'm good to go. So I'm not getting a competitor tickets, but and then ability is going to create tokens. Give me a second. Mech. Yep. Create. So I'm most likely casting. So I'm not getting a ticket, but I hope I can cast from the venue, which would mean being able to still play in the side events on the Friday or something like that. Did you share the list? Yep, I did it just before. I shared the lists and also all of the like explanations for the deck. So if you want to have a proper explanation on how this list was built, feel free. Do I want to let this resolve? Because then this is shield 1. Thinking. I could use Sig to make this 8 in 8, and they have to use either Defy or something, and then I can still trade back. So I'm probably thinking about using Sig here. But then Sig also has a lot of value next turn. Let's just use Sig. What do we do here on that Sig? Because 8 on 8 trade would be like super good. So this is 2 now. He potentially has another buff, but I'm fine with him using it now. And then he's full tapped and next turn I can trade for sure. I'm fine with this. So, yes, you can draw of discipline before though. Did he? Yeah, okay, it's good. Then this goes to trash and then we're just creating tokens again. Here we go. I'm fine with that. We're just going to be recycling a token to bring a Forerunner again. This is the plan for this deck. What is he doing now? Because we could technically beat over that Drake too. 6 might with Death Knell, get 2 times 3 might. Exactly, that's the court. Seems fine, huh? We have Ace Out. So this is 4-4-4. So this is 12 in 10. But we probably want to sequence differently. We are going to recycle one anyway. So Conquer. Does Conquer go through? Rumb effects. Discard this. Then play Forerunner for 3 and a red one. In there. And then we're just going to play duo. I feel like 1, 2, 3. Is it duo in base? Yeah, it's duo in base. F. Toggle counter +2. And then it's here, 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 and they all have Ace Out because of Rumble. Rumble, Ace Outs. Red one. Yo, Jixu, how you doing, brother? That's crazy. Yeah, that card is broken. It's like super giga good in other decks, and in Rumble it's completely cracked. Rune. Okay. Okay, so we are stunning this one. Yep, resolves. I mean, I'm fine with him using Rune now. So we are stunning this one and killing both, I guess. Didn't expect the prison. Game 1, me neither, but it's fine. Like, we are so far ahead in points. I'm fine with that. So resolves. So which those two will die and that one goes back. Yeah, let's do that. Great. Dies. And then let's just untoggle the counter and pass to him, I believe. He still has to trade with this, and Dead Bloom does not do it. Dead Bloom plus buff does not do it. And we are in the lead, so we just need to snowball. Is 6? What's 6? Aren't we missing a rune? What's 6 here? Is there a 6 energy play in E? Oh, okay, so it tapped 8, but it lagged, I guess. Yeah, this is up and running, no problems. Thumb up. Oh, I did not score from the... Yeah, I did not score from the Conqueror because I was like, yeah, we are on that like double Conqueror range, and now we're not anymore. Okay, what is he going for? Sabotage. Okay. How do I reveal the end? I mean, let's just put it here. Whatever, so you can see everything. There's probably a way to reveal the end properly, but whatever. Yeah, get excited, dies. So we'll probably have a tough time dealing with that like Drake shit. Opponent also did not score from ult. You're right. You can just press the arrow next to quartz and click reveal all. Arrow next to quartz. This? Oh yeah, gotcha. And he wants to kill my Rumble. Okay, good to go. Rumble ditch. Rumble has shield, but it ditch still. Yup. Throws one of the tasty. And passes. And we draw the third runner. Huh. Talk about a top deck. So what do we want to do now is the question. We don't have the assault ports, which is kind of a bummer. But we could go with like 6 and then 12 into 10. Play the runner in there. We can play runner jammer in there, so we still beat the Dead Bloom. And then go with 12 in there. Score hold. Yeah, you're right. Scoring holds. I mean, do we want to conquer is the question. Because we could also put everything to the left. Your score police. You're right. You're right. I guess it's probably better to put everything to the left, but it's funnier to push. Used discipline and only that. Yeah, let's just push, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Recycle one. Everybody. He said I ate when I misplay. 8's misplaying. Same here. So let's drop that runner here. And then we pay 2. We give ganking to this guy. Ganking to runner. And then we just go 6, 9, 12. And if runner dies, we still have the tokens in there. That's crazy. And we can pay power to hide the fee too, if we need to. But this wins to like Dead Bloom plus buff, so I don't feel like we need to. What do we think about that Mountain Drake, man? Good for you. Yes, let's go. Let's go. Trash. Then runner. And I believe mech. Probably the better play was just to put everything to the left and just ult. And now we just do 1 in base, I guess. So we can pressure scoring on the next turn, but we are yeah, let's do that. And then recycle a blue one to hide. How do I hide though? Remove Eden? I want to hide. How do I hide? Visible by none. Oh, visible by no one. Face down. And then this. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Chat helped. And then it's just pass. Thank you. Foreigner says mech to base. Oh. Oh, MB. Forerunner says to base. Do we lose? So it's good we eat, because then we could lose to something buff. Dead Bloom? Or Aurora? Yeah, Aurora. It's a bit late though. Can't play. You're right, sorry, thank you. It's a bit late though. It's a tiny bit late though. Because now he can't get in there. Let's see. Even if he finds Dead Bloom, that game is over. Because they have the shields. Volley, yeah, game over. A little bit late indeed. A little bit late indeed. So that volley is going to sit in base, and then we're just going to conquer and close that game. On the other side of the board. GG's. So I do this, right? Second round, of course. So I do this, and then I do this, and then I go rumble, and I can sideboard, right? Yup. Is there anything we want to bring in? We really want to bring in Thermal Babe, right? What's the side out plan for Bean though? Splitter is probably bad into ye. I guess. What do I want to speeder in a rampy? Unchecked, I could see, but this would mean we're in a tough situation. I guess the deck is just fine as is. And then we are going second, so let's just use Minefield now. Visible by all. You first or I will go first. Yes, sir. Is this one of these Master Yis that swap the thingy when they okay, so if he first maybe consult we want, but these we definitely don't want. So let's do that. Okay, great. We have a turn 1 play. I'm good to go, sir. You may proceed. Oh, draw. Draw for turn. Your 5th cards. Perfect. And I have the extra rune. Let's just go with the jammer. And pass. Probably we don't want to play the Surge next turn. We want to set up a Rumble instead. This is good to go. Center. Yeah, good. So he's on 6. He's not on Aura Curve next turn. So we subsequently have a holding turn. And we want to set up something that could beat the Yi potentially. Let's just get in there first. Score. See if we can hold the pick. We beat the Yi if we go Rumble in there though. We like smash the Yi if we go Rumble in there. But if he goes Yi and Wards, it's an 8-in-8 trade and he has Zonias, which is problems. And we don't want that to happen, right? I mean, we could hide a cord though. We could hide a cord to make them believe we have the something hidden and then they can't go in there. Do we want to, is the question. I guess we want to. Or if they go here with you, we just go here, it's fine. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's play it safe. Let's not be too greedy. I mean, we have to be fast into Aurora, and that does not help us at being fast neither. Because then next turn we untap and we still have the hold, but nothing more. So let's do this for now. Do they want to go? If they go Yi champion, it's not that bad for them because they still have the Aura curve. So it's probably the plan, right? Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yes, sir. It's not that bad, but also we prevented the turn. Oh, Charm? Oh, Charm is bad. Charm is super giga bad. Yep, Edge. Did we have a way to play around that Charm though? Probably not, right? It seems you do believe in the Rumble app train. I want to test for myself. I want to test. Yeah, probably no Aura. Because then they Charm. So they recycle a lot already. Let's just do this and pass, I believe. It's going to be a tough one though, because they're going to ramp a lot. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4 Rumble. 1, 2, and power Surge. At least we get to use Surge when they're fully tapped, so they don't have the opportunity to defy. Token, draw. And then we just have to pass there. This game is looking pretty bad though. It seems he's ahead, we can still come back. Yeah. There's still comeback potential. Extra rune from store tipped. He forgot to channel the extra rune. And the conquer is good though. Minefields? Minefield to mill 2? Minefield to mill 2 before center. He did sideboards into mid-range, it feels like, yep. We'll be drawing into the thermal beams when we don't want them. He just has to put them in the trash though. Yep. Yep. Thank you for the photo, Maddie. Thank you, brother. Good. And then center. What did he mill? He milled Mobilize and Catalyst. Okay, so not too bad mills. Like, he already has enough runes not to want to draw them. Yeah. Center resolves. And is not completely tapped. So we're in trouble, chat. We definitely are in trouble. I want to use this to get rid of the Yi. But it feels like we won't be able to do so for quite some time. And I kind of want to burn the Zonias on the Clockwork. So how about we go for a Rumble in Clockwork trades? We burn the Zonias. And we try and play Rumble from the trash through the token. Ain't it the play? Or we want to play this before thinking. Because we could also go Poro in base. Tap 2. Then for 3 we go Duo. We pump the Rumble, so we play around Engwards. And then we recycle the Duo that's tapped to play the Rumble. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the better plan. Or we just go Search. Yeah, let's just go Search. It's even better. So we draw first and we see what's... And if they have D5, we play it now. Which I don't hate. Okay. So we can make the token. And we can draw. And then this goes to trash. Okay, this is good though. This is gonna allow us to get rid of that E. Not now though. But this is gonna help us a lot. And... Wait, we can just use Get Excited with the Splitter, right? We need 2 runes, so we can do all of this now. Let's just 1, 2, 3. Oh no, because if we want to play Rumble, yeah, we pay 1 might, so we can do everything. 1, 2, 3. Then we play Duo. We give +2 to Rumble. Wait, did we just find a super cracked turn? Because now we go here. This has Assault, so this is now 7 into 4. So even if they have a buff, we still outmight. Anything. Good. I'm good to go. You can go, brother. Do you have anything, though? Is the question. Because we have a super cracked turn. We can just pay... Recycle the Duo. Pay 1. Or we could just recycle the mech token. It's better. Yes, sir. Oh, prison again? I guess it is what it is. Do we crush a token in there to proc Zonias? I feel like it. Yeah. Good. I feel like we crash a token in there. Let me just toggle counter before he goes for anything. Pass prior. So this is 4 in 4. We really want to proc the Zonia. Okay, good to go. And then I kind of want to go for the Get Excited on the E now. I feel like we have to, right? And then next turn we have the same play with the Rumble again. So this is like 0 now. And we can just go this, Get Excited, pitch this. Yeah. So this is 8 damage. Then you need to be Dedge. Then he dead. So store catches is your spot right now. Spend 3 calls to kill 1 E. Yup. Sky Splitter. And pass. Okay, we're back in the game, I feel like. Thank you for the follow, Jixie. Thank you, brother. Much love. Merry Christmas, everyone. Oh, this goes here. My bad. It's not that bad, right? We found a way to deal with the zone, yeah. Yes, sir. Conquer is good. Don't forget the meal. It's kinda bad is at 11. Yeah, that's true, but we have Red Rumble. That's going to bring back Red Rumble. So we can comp it. What did he discard? Dead Bloom and Charm. Okay, I like that. And this is not Aurora, this is Tasty. Yep. The only thing so far is that it does not top deck Aurora in the upcoming turn. And then I could see us having a shot at the game. Okay, Forerunner is super good here. He has 3 runes open, but we have the Mech Sig. So I feel like we might as well go Rumble in there and see what happens. Assault 1. Okay. Can we find the posh? You pass Prio. Yes, sir. Another rune prison? It's most likely above discipline. I'm going to have to change Sig. Thinking. Because then he's going to 6. So do I want to be at 7? Yes. So this means I have to recycle 2, which is some sort of a problem. But then I can still drop Runner. Or I could still recycle that token to play Red Rumble again. For 1. And then I drop this and I hardcast this. Something like that. But do I want to play Console before is the question. I feel like probably not. Chain Danger Zone. Repeat. So tap tap. Then recycle. Also, I do this now so that if they draw into DeFi, I'm not fucked. Because if they draw into DeFi of the discipline, I'm fucked into oblivion. My spell resolves. Then you draw. If it's good. Okay, so that Rumble is now 7. And you can draw. And if you draw into Angold, I'm fucked. Okay, we win that trade. So score, and now we go Rumb 1, Fields 2. So we can mill 2. I think it's top chord visibility. No, it's manage top chords. Show one more. Discord. And then it's Rumble. I tap 1. Do I? Yes, I kinda want to, right? It's Rumble, tap 1. Get rid of this. Play Red Rumble in base. And then anyway we're beating the Dead Blooms. So, and there's no E. So I think we just want to go there. Probably. And then we just want to hardcast Consult, no? Feel like it. Probably I should have consulted before. If they draw into DeFi, I guess, if I want to do this. Draw too good. I had to draw options for next turn. 6 drop could have been better, yes. And then pass. But the thing is, here we have the shield, so we are on 9 might, so we only die to Dead Bloom with a buff, but they already used the buff. this turn. If they had won, they would have played it. If they had Engord, they would have played it. And they discarded the Dead Bloom too, so I feel like I don't hate that play. Okay, gives us a better shot at the Fifolk. I don't hate it. What's that? Recycle 2. Dead. This gives us +1/+1. We have shields. So we are on 9, they're on 8. Okay, fine. I'm fine with that. We get the holds. Contest the other outfield. Well, we have the excited now. So we are not in like that bad of a spot to be able to contest that. The only thing is I probably want to swing 6 in there, but Rumble is 5. But we can ready Dangerous Duo with this. So we probably want to go like, they're full tap too. So yeah, we want to go Duo tap back. Then 1, 2, 3, play Bubble Bots, untap Duo. And then we want to go Rumble Duo, counter 1, action, pay 2, recycle 1, get excited, discard runner, kill Fifolk, kill Fi. So Fi dies, they channel 2, they draw 1, we don't care. And then we have a 8 in 6 trade, which I love. They kill Rumble most likely, so we don't draw off of it. But it's fine because we have the runner in hand. So we can just develop Poro now. What do you kill? Rumble dies, okay. Yeah, Rumble dies. Makes a lot of sense. We get to 4. And now we develop Poro in base and we pass, I feel like. And we score the Conquer too. Let's not forget about that part. It's not too bad. He the 6 drop last turn. Oh, he passes back. Uh-oh. Bad draw. So we get the holds. We get the tapped rune. Horrible ends. No units left in hand, feels like. But then, do we want to give him the Dead Bloom? Maybe we are afraid of the Fifolk. How many do we see? We only saw 1 Fifolk and 1 E. So he could top deck Fifolk, which would put us in a tough situation. So is it like everything in the BF? It's probably that right? It's like this here. Conquer. I need insane luck, kind of, yes. Manage top chords. Show one more. Discord. And then golds. And then it's about going to the right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Recycle this. Do we keep the ganking? How valuable is ganking here? Oh, we are at 7, by the way. How valuable is ganking? It's probably better to just put it here, right? Because then, yeah, then we beat everything. Intornation, yeah. Tap 2 more. Pass. Good luck, my friend. If you ain't worse than DeFi, yeah, it's probably something like that. GG's. Alrighty. So we had a cool game and we managed to get up to escape that one, which was super tough. Good luck, have fun next time. Let's get out of it. Was cool. It was a chill dude. It was a chill dude. We won a DeFi, yes, with no board, it's like super tough. Do we have time to play another one? I guess it is the S tier deck. To be fair, we played into Aura E, which I feel like we have a decent matchup into. Like, we have them big clears. But it felt good, though. I don't feel like playing another best of 3, though. Because, like, it's already 11 PM, and if I play another best of 3, we're here until, like, 1 AM, which... I have Christmas to celebrate with my family tomorrow, so I have to get ready for it. So how about I just find a raid, and then next time, if we have more time, we test the other decks. I feel like I'm at a point where it matters who you play against to be able to make an educated decision. Yeah. That is, like, super true. That is super true, though. The idea is not, once again, like, the idea of, like, these live streams, like, from the past 2 weeks, like this one and the previous one, is more about, like, trying to establish a, like, functional deck list for the deck, which I feel some functional reflection to, and, like, trying to give you a hint at, like, what playstyle you want to go for and what you should try to play the deck like. But I'm not, like, I don't have a billion hours testing. So I'm like not as good as Tog, not as good as Randy, not as good as all of these guys on set 2. Because I'm not planning to go into, like, in China. I just want, like, to set some kind of, like, okay, you guys could play that. If you want to try this deck, this is good. And you're going to have a good baseline of a deck list. At this point, I'm like 6-7 out of 10 to be sure about my Victor deck, but the rate is so fragile based on the meta. Is Victor like the Giga Control Victor? Because if so, I would be interested to see that deck perform. Nah? Okay. More of a token thingy. Blue stuff is bad? I don't know, I've not played into it. So I can't tell. Like, I could say I think this is bad, but I can't really say 100% it's bad, right? Or I think it's good, or whatever. Rift bounce category. Is anyone streaming? Oh, hell yes. We have guys streaming an opening. Happy birthday, teaching my friend how to play. Playing set 2 games with friends. How about we read that playing set 2 games with friends, guys? Because I feel like that's the theme of what we were doing, right? T Macaroni was the name, I believe. Yup. How about we rate T Macaroni red prepped? Just remove the blue Victor and that deck is cooked. It matters for it to have the blue Victor alive, because if they don't, it's super bad for that build. Also, I feel like Forerunner is a big problem for their deck. Like, they can kill Forerunner, sure, but can they also kill the 2 tokens? Most of the time, I'd say no, right? So, yeah, I kind of feel like there are a few issues that have just not been spotted yet. But this does not mean that this deck is completely trash. It's just, like, interesting to see how it will evolve and adapt and overcome the potential hurdles on the way. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I'm going to launch a raid on Team Macaroni, and then I'm going to get to editing, so you can have a video releasing tomorrow. Purple feel like the best. I do agree with that. Hope you have a great Christmas day. Merry Christmas to everyone. Love you so much. Thank you for the support. Even on the pre-Christmas night, you guys were here to support. Like that a lot. Means the word to me. Hoping to see you guys on Wednesday, next Wednesday, 8 PM for the next stream. Or you can also jump on YouTube if you want the contents video. Any ones. Thank you so much for being here. Much love to you guys. Going to launch a raid now. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are. And know that you are a wonderful person. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Much love, everyone.